GM, everybody. Hope everyone's having a good day. See, Steven's already here. GM Steven, how are you?
GM, how are you?
Doing great. Vibing. Excited to talk to you and SizeChad and maybe some other guests that might stop by, and really enjoying the weather getting a little nicer. It's not sub-freezing and snow's melting, so
I'm
all is well here.
so cold here.
Wait, where are you based out of?
I'm based in New York. Today is a pretty
Oh, yeah.
day, cold day.
Midwest is getting a little hot, depending on where you're at, I guess. It's a shit show.
So I'll Denver.
SizeChad, GM.
Great to speak to you. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you? I haven't talked to you, I think, since Miami.
Yeah. Oh crap! I just dropped my phone. All is well. All is well. Yeah. I apologize. It's been too long, and thank you so much for hosting. This is an important Twitter space for us, and yeah, happy to. I don't know. Are we waiting on anyone else on our side? I'm trying to think.
I had messaged Keyboard. He might stop by at some point, but I'm not. We don't have to wait for him. Um, I did pin the bridge tutorial. I know a lot of people are gonna, think, what the hell is Arbitrum? What's a bridge? I think a lot of the people. I think we're gonna have a mix of people, right? A lot of people know what Arbitrum is, already have money there. They're trading Magic and small brains and are deep in the ecosystem, and then other people just have no clue like what an L2 is. So like maybe we could briefly just go really quickly over what Arbitrum is, like what a bridge is, um, and then kind of go a little bit deeper into like what the NFT ecosystem looks like and all that fun stuff.
That sounds great.
All right. Well, I guess first off, then, thank you guys for coming. SizeChad and Steven reached out and they're like, yo, let's host a space on NFTs on layer two. I think that's perfect. At Fractional, we see issues with gas fees all the time, especially with like, the median market participant. Maybe they're not the most active on Twitter space stages, but they definitely are hurt by the gas prices. I think L2s are super powerful and people should be educated on them. Um, so yeah, I just pinned the basic tutorial on the bridge, and I'll give the stage to Steven and SizeChad to talk a little bit more about it.
Hey, thanks so much for hosting us. I guess I'll give a little overview on Arbitrum. I know we have a mix of listeners here. So, what is Arbitrum? What are we trying to do? And then maybe we can dig more deeply into some of the really cool NFT initiatives going on. But I'll start with an overview of the tech. Arbitrum is a layer two scaling platform for Ethereum. And I'll try to break down what those words mean, layer two scaling platform. The key is pretty simple, which Ethereum is a really, really secure and decentralized network, and it doesn't scale very, very well on layer one. What that means is that there is a finite amount of transaction space, and fees go really up high, and users end up paying really high fees. And what this also means is that certain users and certain applications are priced out. You can't basically do certain things that you'd want to do in Ethereum. And we'll talk today about some of the really transaction intensive NFTs and gaming that's happening on Arbitrum, and it's just not possible to do those things on layer one. And this is really cross different verticals, right? So take DeFi for example. If you have a DeFi project that has users that are whales and trade tens of thousands of dollars or more, yeah, the fees in Ethereum are probably okay and probably not too much of an issue. But you go to like retail DeFi, where users are trading $2 or $3 or $50 or $100, and the fees of $10, $50, or $100 become really, really prohibitive. And it prices out users, but also prices out entire applications, entire classes of apps and things you want to do. And the same thing in NFTs. Maybe you can buy an NFT on Ethereum at the current prices, but if you want to go ahead and do things with them and game with them that are very, very transaction heavy, the transaction experience, the cost is going to become very, very prohibitive. So the key principle of what we're doing is inclusivity. We want to include more apps and include more people. What that means is we want to be able to a low transaction for me sitting in the US might not be the same as a low transaction for someone sitting in a different part of the world. And the key principle here is if we can lower our fees, we can make the barriers to entry lower and bring more and more people into this ecosystem and allow more people to participate, and also allow more apps to participate as well. And when we want to lower fees, we want to do that without compromise, because you can really easily lower fees. And there are other projects that are doing things like this, where you make some compromises on the security or some compromises on the decentralization. But if you're an NFT collector, you probably, to save $10 or $50 in your fee, you probably don't want to hold this really expensive NFT on the chain that's less secure. You'd probably rather pay that fee up front and hold your NFT on a more secure chain, one that's not governed by, one that really has the security of Ethereum. And what we do is we give you the security of Ethereum, so we don't compromise on security. We give you the decentralization of Ethereum, and we also give you those low fees. And that's where layer 2 comes in. So Arbitrum kind of looks like a blockchain in and of itself, and that's why Deez mentioned the bridge. So you have to bridge funds over from Ethereum to Arbitrum, but it's a layer 2, and the difference is it doesn't have its own consensus mechanism. Instead, it requires you to, it relies on the security of Ethereum. So the bridge in Arbitrum is really just a smart contract on Ethereum, and it doesn't require an external network of signers. It's very different than a typical cross-chain bridge. It really is a bridge that inherits the security of Ethereum as long as anyone is watching this and there's any one honest validator, what we call, which is a very low security assumption. Essentially, it derives its full security from Ethereum. So you have this bridge. So what that means is if you're a user, you have to go ahead and deposit your funds on the bridge and take them over to Arbitrum. And Arbitrum is going to look like a different blockchain. On your MetaMask, you'll have to switch over to the Arbitrum network. It looks like a completely different network. But the really cool thing is that under the hood, it's not a different technology stack. It's a different network, but it's built on Ethereum and it's secured by Ethereum. And that's how we can have our cake and eat it too, which is really cool, because we can do that inclusivity. We can lower our fees, but we don't have to compromise on the user experience. We don't have to compromise on the transaction costs. We don't have to compromise on security. We don't have to compromise on decentralization. Essentially, we don't have to compromise on the values that brought us here in the first place. Right? If we go back to the centralized systems then that we came from to get scale, what are we even doing here? What have we accomplished? So that's what we're really excited about, and that's what keeps us going. And one thing I'll mention is, in terms of bridging, if you want to go ahead and try Arbitrum out, so you can use our bridge, and the flow there is you have some ETH on Ethereum or some other asset on Ethereum. You can bridge that over to Arbitrum. You pay a layer 1 gas cost there, so it's a bit expensive to go over the bridge the first time, but you can do that. And no matter what assets you're taking, you want to make sure you bring some ETH over as well, because like Ethereum, fees in Arbitrum are paid in ETH. So you want to go ahead and make sure you may take some USDC or USDT, but also take over some ETH, because you're not going to be able to do anything to transact without ETH. And the really cool thing is that there are other ways to get on the network as well. Just this week, FTX announced that they have now direct support for Arbitrum, which means if you're an FTX user that has ETH in your account, you can go ahead and say, hey, withdraw ETH, and you'll get a choice. Do I want to withdraw that to Ethereum? Do I want to withdraw that to Solana? Do I want to withdraw that to Arbitrum? And you can withdraw directly to Arbitrum. The same thing from Binance today, Crypto.com, Huobi, Bybit, and a bunch of other centralized exchanges. So getting onto Arbitrum is becoming easier and easier by the day. And once you're on Arbitrum, you'll enjoy these fast transactions. It's one thing I neglected to mention. It's much faster. It has that instant feel where you're going to transact. You're not going to see that spinner. You're just going to see sort of that check mark where everything worked and went through. And also you'll have the lower fees, and you'll have really great things to do. But hopefully we'll get into that a little bit later. And SizeChad and Deez can probably tell you about that a little as well, about the cool NFT initiatives that are going on in Arbitrum.
That was great. That was a great overview. While you were talking, I also brought up Sobi, who I know is also a big fan of what's going on Arbitrum. So welcome to the stage, Sobi. And yeah, sorry, SizeChad, I saw you unmuted. Go for it.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, I was just gonna say, thanks for the intro, Steve. I mean, it's been kind of crazy. We've had a lot of volume as of recent, and we're just pumped to kind of like continue to grow the ecosystem organically and just get the word out there. So yeah, I'd Sobi, if you wanted to comment on anything, or if you had a question, go ahead.
Yeah, I think Arbitrum is interesting that people are like finally getting on board into it. I think as more NFT projects launch there, like people will move over there. I think what I've seen just within my cohort of friends, a lot of people bridged over because of Treasure, and now people are also bridging over because of Vestas, I think, or whatever, that DeFi protocol that's been launching. And personally, I'm a big fan of Arbitrum. I think I've been following them for a few years now. The Off-Chain Labs team is just like a bunch of gigabrains, basically, and I love that they brought in SizeChad to help with the BD, and just to echo the stuff. Like unlike other layer ones, or even there is like no other functioning layer two, to be honest. Like that, none of them have like the security guarantees of ETH, so you're basically able to transact with like the speeds of these competing layer ones without neglecting security, which I think is a big deal because there like no other chain has like nearly as much TVL or like value transacted on it as ETH. I think Arbitrum has a good opportunity to be like the leader layer two solution that rivals the whole total amount of value transferred and whatnot.
Yeah. So I got some people requesting. Should we kind of bring them up to do some?
We could do a Q&A.
Q&A?
I didn't know if we wanted to jump into so like for me, the most exposure I have to Arbitrum is through Magic. I think that's for a lot of people, like the NFT community. We saw Keyboard Monkey get deep into Magic, talk about it a lot. A lot of us aped in, didn't know too much about it, but like liked what was going on. We liked the vibes. And then now, with Bridge World, um, the game, and like the massive document, like I don't know, like 50-page document about Bridge World that came out. Like, there's a lot to talk about there. I don't know like where we want to take the NFT discussion, because like I know there's also other NFTs not treasure related
Yeah.
going on Arbitrum, and there's like I don't want to make the whole space about Magic, even though I would love to like pick brains about it. Um, Personally, like I'm only super aware of Magic and the DopeX stuff, and everything else I'm like really new to on the Arbitrum NFT side of things.
Yeah, true. But there's also, I guess, the GMX Blueberry Club, just to give them a shout out there. They've got a strong community as well. And then actually, there's, kind of like a grassroots movement that started a bit ago, is the Arbitrum NFT Alliance as well. But yeah, I think a big part of this call should just be to educate people that are or artists or collectors, etc., that are interested in using Arbitrum. So I'm happy to kind of let anyone come up and kind of ask questions and just do some Q&A, if that's cool with you guys.
Yeah, just commenting on the Blueberry, which is one of the really interesting themes that I've seen on Arbitrum, is the interaction and the intersection, I should say, between DeFi and NFTs. So the GMX, the Blueberries are launched by or part of the GMX ecosystem, and we mentioned all the DopeX NFTs. DopeX, of course, is an options platform, so it's really fascinating. Besides, you have some really strong like NFT first projects, and then you have these DeFi projects that are launching really popular NFTs. So it's a very exciting interaction to watch.
Yeah, I understand maybe like 5% of what's going on with DopeX, but I really like seeing the merging of DeFi and NFTs. I think like gamifying DeFi has so much upside in making it more fun and getting more market participants to, buy in and hold in 3-3. I brought up 3 people quickly to start. Welcome to the stage, Arcanic, Hunter, and Nexus.
Yo, what's up, guys? How's it going? Thanks for hosting this space. I've been looking forward to it for quite some time. And yeah, dude, I mean, it's Arbitrum, in my opinion, is probably the leading L2 layer. I kind of want to pick your brains regarding this as well, because I'm not so much knowledgeable at, on the entire DeFi side more so than I am on the NFT side. And through the entire gamification of NFTs and stuff that's taking place on Arbitrum, I'm kind of learning more and more about DeFi and about everything related to that through Magic and stuff. So it's been a really nice experience. One of the biggest things that I've kind of debated with people, right? I've had this conversation with a bunch, and I'd like to hear your perspective on this as well. So two L2 layers right now are kind of doing well, I suppose, in their own regard, right? One is Arbitrum, of course, and the other one is Immutable X. Now, a lot of people are very, very bullish on Immutable X, and there's been a lot of stuff, a lot of new developments, a lot of NFTs and stuff that are coming out on there too. They have their own marketplace. I want to see how you feel about that in relation to Arbitrum and everything that's happening here, if you knew anything about that.
So one cool thing is actually the point I just mentioned previously, which I think is something unique to Arbitrum, which is we have a really, really strong, flourishing DeFi community, and also a really strong and growing NFT community. And that sort of interaction, really, you need this sort of general platform. And I have nothing negative at all to say about Immutable X, but it's very NFT focused, and you don't really have two things you don't have there. One is this interaction between DeFi, right? If you wanted to do that interaction, you need to bridge your NFTs elsewhere. So you'd have to take them off the Immutable X platform or create some other bridge to another platform. And I think where it's very, very early with what we're seeing there, and with those interactions, we're already seeing some really promising things. And as Deez said, I think the what's to come is going to be really, really exciting. There's so much possibilities there. And the other thing is the full smart contract, the full programmability support. So to break that down, what that means is you have these NFTs, and now you can take them and build them in experiences. So for example, we have Treasure just launched Quest. So for the longest time, not the longest time, but we're in crypto, so a month or two or three feels like the longest time. You had these small brains and you had these legions, but there wasn't that much you could do with them, or at least it wasn't very publicized. And now there's Bridge World and this paper and this actual thing that was launched where you can take your NFTs and send them on quests, and you take you send them on quests and they go and pick up other NFTs. And these experiences really, really only happen when you have that general platform with full smart contract support. So it's another very similar to the same platform that can support DeFi can also support these gaming experiences. And the ecosystem that I'm looking forward to is where it's even this decentralizes, right? So it's not only the Treasure community going ahead and saying, okay, you can go and use your Legion in a game, but it's also someone else coming and saying, hey, you have a Legion or you have a small brain, look, you can now participate in this experience that I made. And I think the programmability is really, really important for that. So in a word, I would say Immutable X is really, really a great platform and has really, really strong uses if you want to, for purchasing and buying and selling NFTs. But if you're looking for these more integrated experiences with a really strong DeFi ecosystem, and also with one that just gives you programmability that enables you to go ahead, or you as a developer to go ahead and create more experiences around them, I think that that's really, really the most important thing that gets me most excited of not what are we seeing today, but what will people do with this when you give them these tools. And in Arbitrum, we give them all these tools.
Damn, that's really crazy, man. And yeah, I mean, when I think about just the way that NFTs are going to be progressing as a whole, you have a certain side of NFTs strictly that are just JPEGs and that are used for social identity and things of that sort. But then you have this entire new revolution of gamification, elements that are brought into these JPEGs, which kind of create this entire world around them, an entire ecosystem. And I mean, personally for me, I'm a very big Magic, Small Brains, Legion, Bridge World maxi. So I can go on and on about that all day. And I know that's not something that we want to do here, but I genuinely believe that Treasure and, some of the other ones that you mentioned are doing a very good job. And, I think to a certain extent, even projects on L1, they have not delivered to this quality, or very few have, if any.
And if I could actually jump in there a little bit too. Yeah, I think it's definitely worth noting, Arcadic, especially you mentioned there that projects on L1 haven't done it. It's because it's going to cost too much to gamify anything on L1. Number one, and number two, it's just that I think we can all agree that dApps and applications cannot exist will not exist in silos. Web3 or Ethereum, crypto is all about interoperability, whether it's with different DeFi protocols. DeFi Legos, as we used to call it. Now, I mean, I'd almost call it DeFi 3.0 or like NFT Legos. I think I mentioned when we were speaking with the Treasure team. It's because NFTs as profile pictures are awesome. They give identity to people who choose to remain anonymous, or even just people who choose to, present themselves as whoever they want to be. But on the other side of the spectrum, like you're also able to, plug in an NFT into DeFi, and it opens up this entire new world of just, like an experience. I mean, like literally, again, like the top three like DeFi, or I would say the top three NFTs right now on Arbitrum in terms of like you should say like project or volume. You have Treasure, obviously, with Small Brains, Legions, etc. Dopex with their Bridger NFT, as well as the Halloween one, which from what I understand provides some sort of kind of bonus to whatever kind of farming you're doing on Dopex's platform, as well as the GMX Blueberry Club, where if you're holding one of them and you're also staking GMX, you get some sort of like escrow GMX at the end of the month. It's like all of the NFTs that I really really want to take it to the next level on Arbitrum have done very very well, and there are even a slew of more NFT platforms that are also kind of plugging into other ones as well, such as Castle DAO. You have and these are some from the NFT Alliance as well, Realm, Farmland, etc. Arbitrum is definitely, if you ask me, like leading the revolution of DeFi and NFTs like together. And it's pretty amazing to see too. With just Tofu NFT and Treasure being the main marketplaces currently.
Nice. I see we brought AJ up, and we also have Nexus. Welcome to the stage.
Hey everyone.
Hey,
Thanks for having
thanks
us.
for having us.
Sorry, I just
You
realized I
can go
should have
first.
introduced one of you instead of both, and then had you compete for it. I love seeing all the small brains come up. They make me happy when I see them. So if you have a small brain and you request, I'm 100% tapping yes.
Yo, Deez, you want to know something funny? So I know that you're like a old school RuneScape vet. You've been around for ages. I just needed to bring this up. Something crazy that I've discovered recently is some of the biggest content creators for old school RuneScape are also heavily involved in Magic and Treasure, and some of them have been here since like November, so they've been in early as fuck. And it's really crazy. I've played RuneScape my entire life, and a lot of us that we, whenever we're holding community spaces and stuff, we talk about it and how crazy nostalgic, this entire ecosystem kind of brings back those vibes from back in the day when we used to play. So I just wanted to put that in there because I know you'd find that pretty interesting.
I love that. Can you shout out any of the specific content creators? Like I know a lot of them follow me now, and it's interesting to see.
So we actually got one right here listening in the audience. He's framed. He's chilling there right now. I've been binge watching his videos since back in high school, dude. The dude's a fucking OG. I have so much respect for him. And like, I got on a call with him, and I just was picking their brain. I was like, dude, so like, what drove you to Magic? And they all told me that, bro, we've been here like mad early, and I kind of lost my marbles because, just when I think that I won't run into other people who, from different places, I wouldn't expect them to be in Magic. I find those people to be in Magic. So it's crazy, man. And yeah, so the connections and the roots of who all is in this ecosystem and where they came from and what they've done, like it's very very expansive. And there's people who I've watched their YouTube videos for years, like people like Max Mofo, for example. He used to do videos with Filthy Frank and iDubbbz and stuff like that, and he's heavily involved in Magic too. So like, just when you think the surprises end, they just keep coming.
No, I love that. I think there's something about like the degenerate RuneScape community, gambling, like gold selling, getting into crypto early. There was a lot of reasons to fall into that rabbit hole playing that game for
Dude,
a
yeah.
lot of time. So it's great to see them get into Magic too. It's like a very similar vibe, and I keep seeing a lot of like crappy knockoff projects that like, I mean, I don't want to like call them out, but there's like just too many like old school RuneScape jacked NFT projects that are just like trying to scam money. And Magic's probably the closest thing I've also seen in terms of just like the vibe. Also messed around a bit with DeFi Kingdom and really just let it sit and got bored and forgot about it. And then my tokens went to 0. But yeah, sorry to derail the conversation. Nexus, do you have a question?
Oh yeah. Sorry, I got distracted by the old school RuneScape talk. That's actually how I kind of explained NFTs to myself, explained NFTs to myself. Because at first, like, I kind of thought NFTs were just, I mean, I had the typical normie view of NFTs, and I was like, but like digital items can have value. I did want a party hat pretty bad. So yeah, that's funny that you bring that up. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty new to crypto, so apologies if this is a dumb question or if it's like a bit simplified. But I'm curious about what are you guys' thoughts on the future of like I'm not exactly sure how to put it. Like, I guess interoperability between different like layer 1 and layer 2s. Since there's not like a de facto layer 2 chosen yet. Like, Arbitrum is like seemingly the leader and stuff. But there hasn't been like a de facto one chosen yet, and there may be multiple, from what I understand. How will NFTs created on different ones interact with each other? Like, and will there be some type of trace of where they were created, or would it be possible to have them created in like a central place that would not really leave a mark? If that makes any sense at all.
So I think as the multi-chain ecosystem builds, I think you're definitely right. There will be more than one chain for the long term, and many of these chains will have NFTs. And the question of interop and how you can do things together with NFT that was created on Ethereum mainnet and NFT that was created on Arbitrum is a really important one. So I think there are two different things here that will happen over time. One which I think we'll see in the short term, and one which I'm hopeful we'll see in the longer term, but we don't really know how to do yet. So in the short term, I think we'll see NFT bridges popping up. We actually had a Twitter Spaces last week, just our team, talking about NFT bridge designs that we're working on. And we'll see that. And that will allow you to do this thing where you take an NFT that's built on Arbitrum and you go ahead and move it to Ethereum. Or you take an NFT from Ethereum and move it to Arbitrum, and you can do that cross ecosystem. And there are different, just like there are different types of bridges for fungible assets, there are also different types of bridges for NFTs. So you'll have some that are completely trustless and some that rely escrowing it. But to your question, you'll always have some trace, because the way that you really bridge assets, like what does it mean to go cross chain? If you have two chains that don't know about each other, that can't speak to each other, often it means locking it up in escrow on chain A and moving it to chain B. And this is where the different where layer 2 really comes in, because in layer 2 you can do that without external validators. In layer 1, you basically, if it's like two different layer 1s, or a layer 1 and a layer 2 of a different chain, ones that don't derive the security one from the other, you have to have basically a trusted bridge where you say, hey, I'm locking it up here, and someone else goes and issues an asset based on locking it up. They go ahead and look at the other blockchain, because the blockchains can't look at one another. So there will always be a trace, at least in any way that I can see. I don't want. I guess I should never say never, but I think that's and all the current designs we have, you're not really the NFT chain A, chain B, really just locking it up on chain B and making it accessible on chain B. But I think something that will happen over time is working on ways where, so instead of just bridging from A to B, can you build experiences that are really cross-chain? That's, I think, a really interesting area of research. And this occurs in non-NFT world as well. Can you have you share liquidity pools between chain A and chain B, between a base chain like Ethereum and a rollup like Arbitrum? We don't really know how to do those today. There are some really, really promising projects that are working on it, but in a general sense, usually it's about moving assets from one chain to another. So I think that's what we'll see in the short term. I definitely think we'll see assets moving back and forth, but it also depends on the type, right? I don't think you'll see too many CryptoPunks moving over to Arbitrum because there's no real experiences that people are building around them in Arbitrum. So why would I? It's just, I'm just using it as my, I want it. It's art. I'm collecting it, but why would I move it? It's really about building experiences, and so I think you'll see almost like competitive dynamics here, which is maybe someone will build an experience in Arbitrum. Well, you'll get something. You can farm something with your CryptoPunk or with your whatever, with your some collection. So I think it's really going to be about building these experiences to make people want to move them, because it's not going to, if it's just sitting in my Twitter profile and just sitting in my wallet and there's not, that, and it's something, a piece that I'm collecting rather than a piece that I'm actively using, I think you're less inclined to really move it. So I'm really looking forward to seeing the experiences that people will build to encourage people to really go cross-chain with these things. And some of those will be gaming, some of those will be DeFi. Maybe I'll want to fractionalize it and move it over to layer two, right? And fractionalizing when you're paying high fees doesn't really make much sense, right? So I think we'll see a lot of really cool interactions and experiences built around these, and I imagine that the bridging tech will flow from there.
Awesome.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
that was a really good answer. I appreciate it. If it's okay, I have one other quick question, or hopefully quick.
go for it.
Thank you. So I think you briefly touched on it. Although I'm not sure if it's the same concept. You mentioned something about like liquidity pools like interacting with each other and stuff. That was actually my second question, or relating to my second question of how does something like Arbitrum, where it's like a contract on Ethereum, how does that relate, or what functions does it share similar to something like what I'm sure you know, Doug Colkett. Have you heard of him?
I have not.
Yeah, he's making something called Croc Swap, and it's basically a unified liquidity, like automated market maker / DEX kind of thing, where all the not really exactly sure how to explain it. I was hoping you'd heard of it, but basically it merges the liquidity pools, from what I understand. And how does that relate to something like Arbitrum, where it's the whole like almost a new blockchain on a smart contract versus a dApp that's using a smart contract?
So the way to think about Arbitrum is really like its own chain. And there are smart contracts on Ethereum, and those are what secure Arbitrum. But from a application perspective, it's like its own chain. And there's ways to bridge trustlessly between Ethereum and Arbitrum. And Ethereum is vouching for the correctness of Arbitrum. Ethereum is saying, hey, Arbitrum is correct. You don't have to have your own validators. I am vouching for that, and that's done on Ethereum. I mean, you have to have your own. You don't have to have your own consensus, I should say. You just have to have, any trust validation. And so that's basically the way to think of Arbitrum. But from an application perspective, it doesn't look different to an application launching on it than a different layer one. So anything you can do, like merging liquidity between other chains, you can do with Arbitrum as well. This is just a very, very deep bridging, like I like to call it, is a very young area of research. Shallow bridging, where you're just moving assets over, is a much more advanced area at this point. Lots and lots of really strong projects doing that. And yeah, there are definitely, I haven't heard of Croc Swap, but I'll definitely look into that. There are definitely some really, really smart people looking at how can we do something deeper bridging, where we actually tap into the liquidity and don't just move assets from A to B, but we build experiences that use assets on A and use assets on B in conjunction with one another. I think there's a lot of interesting research that's going to be done there, and a lot of interesting protocols that will be built. But I think it's a much earlier area of design. But fundamentally, anything that can work on a different blockchain can work on Arbitrum. Arbitrum is like, I used to say it has the experience of a sidechain, but the security of Ethereum. But the experience is the same. If you're launching an app, whatever you can do in any other chain, in any other EVM chain, you can do in Arbitrum. Arbitrum is fully EVM compatible. It takes the same bytecode as Ethereum. So, whenever you can do on any EVM chain, you can do an Arbitrum, plus confidence that there's no external consensus and you have the security of Ethereum, but you also have the low fees. So I don't know if that, I can't answer the specific question about Croc Swap because I don't know enough about it to really answer it. But I think that Arbitrum, you should be able to do an Arbitrum, whatever they're doing on the other chains that they're bridging. Should be able to plug into that really easily.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. The main thing was just how the smart contract works in the internal mechanisms. But yeah. Thank you very much. That was a very, very good answer.
Thank you.
Hey guys, how's it going? Deez, thank you for having me. SizeChad, I gotta say it's a pleasure to have you guys here. I'm such a fanboy of Arbitrum. I'm actually deploying my protocol on Arbitrum as well as Ethereum mainnet and a few others. But I've got a good question for you guys. So I'm sure you've noticed that Polygon, which I would never pick Polygon over you guys, but I like Polygon anyway, has been acquiring a lot of ZK rollup platforms. Are you guys potentially interested in going down the ZK rollup route? I know there isn't currently an EVM compatible ZK rollup out right now, but there will be one soon, probably with ZK Sync. But I think Polygon has realized that an EVM compatible ZK rollup is probably going to replace their consensus mechanism. So what's your views on an EVM compatible ZK rollup? And are you planning to integrate any at Arbitrum?
Thanks. That's a really good question. And first, I'll say excited to hear that you're building an Arbitrum, and we're looking forward to building alongside you. To answer your question, though, the way we approach this is we see that users are having trouble today scaling, having trouble with the fees today, and we want to bring that inclusivity today. And the way we designed Arbitrum, the way we designed it when we wrote the academic in 2018, the way we designed it when Ed first started the project back in 2014, and the way I would design it today if I were starting Arbitrum from scratch is let's build this in the way that we can get this live, that it works, that will reduce fees for users. And maybe a month ago, we put out a blog post here that explained why we believe that optimistic rollups are the end game for scaling, why we don't fundamentally believe that ZK rollups have a fundamental advantage. And I don't want to get into that, but there was a blog post that we put out on Medium from the Off-Chain Labs account, and you can take a look at that. But fundamentally, everything comes with trade-offs, and I think that the trade-offs of optimistic rollups are a lot better long-term than the trade-offs of ZK rollups. But the most important thing is that optimistic rollups exist today. And the thing I always like to say is if we look back in 5 years from now, I can promise you, and if we listen to this chat in 5 years from now, I can promise you that we'll say, wow, Arbitrum then was so primitive. And if you look back at the ZK rollups today, at the stages that they are, in 5 years from now, we'll probably also say, wow, those were really, really primitive at the time. Look how far along we've come. And I think anyone who doesn't have that attitude is making a really, really big mistake because there's so many great minds entering the space every day. There's so much innovation. Really, people are flocking from other industries, really smart people to come and build Web3. So 5 years, a week feels like an eternity in this space. I can't keep up with what people are building. 3, 4, 5 years, a decade, really, really long time for innovation. And the point I'm trying to say is Arbitrum is the leading layer 2 scaling solution today on Ethereum. But we're not stopping and saying, look what we've built. We're done. We're in our final state. We're saying, okay, we're now 90+% cheaper than Ethereum. How do I get to 95%? How do I get to 97%? How do I get the fees lower? How do I keep the security higher? How do I get the user experience even better on Arbitrum? How do I add other modes that allow people to build in other languages alongside the EVM? There's really many questions that we can ask and many areas that we are trying to innovate on and really improve the experience on. But the key is we're doing this as we go. We're not saying, hey, in the end, we'll have this product that is amazing but doesn't exist today. We're saying we have a product that's amazing today and we'll make it much better over time.
Stephen, I guess my question is kind of like a test of flexibility, adaptability, and ability to innovate, because we've seen plenty of blockchains that, they'll release something and they don't really do much afterward. I'm glad to hear you guys continually innovating, but as you were mentioning before, there's always trade-offs, right? So are you saying that you don't think an EVM compatible ZK rollup will be scalable enough? Because obviously they use validity proofs. And sorry, I'm a little bit out of breath. Just walked up a hill. But anyway, their validity proof mechanism, ZK Sync Publish, would be about 175 times as scalable as Ethereum mainnet. But it's just about as decentralized as the Ethereum mainnet in its consensus form. So as with anything, your consensus mechanism is definitely more centralized. So what are your opinions on the scalability balance? And do you just think that the amount of scalability required is soon going to outpace that form of rollup?
Yeah, I think that first of all, I think that we are not more centralized or decentralized than ZK rollups. We both basically get our security, derive our security from Ethereum. I think that they won't have the compatibility that we have. There's no way. ZK Sync, as you mentioned, says, okay, we'll have our they've made promises about their mainnet and testnet, but we haven't actually seen those yet. So I can't comment, but I have seen their blog posts in which they say they have a long list of asterisks of things that won't be supported. We have bytecode level support for EVM, which means you as a developer team can go ahead and take your same code. You don't have to rewrite it. You don't have to re-audit it. You just go ahead and press a button and launch that in Arbitrum. I don't think we'll see that in the next 5 years from now in a ZK rollup. And you can set a timer and tell me if I'm wrong. But
I guess my final question would be, would you guys ever look at any other validation metrics? Obviously, right now in our current point in time, there aren't too many options. But as we see people come up with new validation metrics, every month in this space. So are you concrete about your current validation metrics, or would you potentially ever look at changing them?
Absolutely would look at changing them. And what I mean by that is, when we launched Arbitrum 4 months ago, it was maybe a month or two later that we said, hey, we're launching Arbitrum Nitro next. Arbitrum Nitro is an iteration of Arbitrum, but a very, very strong and good iteration, and said, and one that's really, really, really deep and something that took a lot of reflection, and said, hey, how do we make this even better? And I can tell you, hey, if I'm wrong, so in a year from now, we're going to play this space and said, Steven said this won't exist, but look, it will exist. We'll absolutely go ahead and adopt the best technology. And that's basically the point that I was making when I said, if we look back in 5 years from now, we'll be primitive, because we will adapt. We'll adapt and say, how do we get better? How do we use the tools that are available to us in a year from now to get even better then? But the difference is, I personally don't think, so if you're asking me my opinion, I do believe there will be tools in a year from now that are better than we have today, and we'll absolutely incorporate those into Arbitrum. I don't believe those tools are focused on ZK rollups in the next 5 years. But if I'm wrong, we're not going to sit back and say, oh, we'll eat our words happily, because ultimately what we want to do is provide the best user experience. And that's what drove us to our design today. But if there are some breakthroughs in ZK rollup technology that solve some of the fundamental issues today around compatibility and price, then we will absolutely look to incorporate those in Arbitrum, because ultimately it's about the best technology. And that was my point of, we're going to keep innovating. And if my guess is that road does not go through ZK rollups. But if I'm wrong, Arbitrum will absolutely plow through ZK rollups.
Steven, I'm thrilled to hear it. I'm even more bullish on Arbitrum now. That was a great answer. But I guess my question is, at the end of the day, we don't know anything, right? None of us really know anything about the capabilities of blockchain and smart contracts in this space. We know that 0.0001%. So are you guys always experimenting with new validation metrics, or do you just stick with your current form of optimistic rollups?
Right now, we believe that optimistic rollups are the most viable path to scaling Ethereum, and we are iterating on our optimistic rollup design. Arbitrum Nitro, which will launch soon, is a massive step forward on the design of optimistic rollups. It takes what we have and it just turbocharges it, and that's where the name Nitro comes from. It really, really takes it to the next level. We do have people internally that are looking at many, many different technologies, including ZK's proofs. And during my PhD, I focused mostly on cryptography. I did a lot of work on MPC. I did some work on ZK proofs as well before they were cool and before they were popular. So this isn't a tribal decision. This is what's the best technology. And I think the proof is in the pudding. Arbitrum is live today with $3+ billion in TVL. And there is no general purpose rollup live today, and we will continue to be live with the best scaling solution and the best tech available for users at the time. Today, that's optimistic rollups, but we'll constantly reevaluate ourselves and, if necessary, reinvent ourselves. But we're long-term bullish on the technology. But of course, we can be wrong, and we will absolutely make changes if that it's not about ego here. It's about, hey, how do we deliver the best technology to users to help them scale at the current time? Today, that's very definitively Arbitrum. My belief, in a year from now and 5 years from now, that will still be Arbitrum. What will that look like? It will incorporate the best technology, and if that ZK proves, we will absolutely incorporate them. My guess, and I'll put that on the record, is it's not, but we'll see what it is.
Stephen, thank you very much. One last thing is, as we know, validation metrics can be centralized or decentralized, but a lot of things people don't talk about is equity distribution, because you see all these different blockchains and protocols that have a very high concentration of equity distribution to one group of party or a few different parties, where a few parties can get together, communicate with each other, and swing whatever vote they want in whatever direction they want. How decentralized or centralized is your equity distribution going to be on Arbitrum?
So I'm not sure what you mean exactly by equity distribution. Arbitrum does not have a native token today. We have.
Oh yeah, the question is assuming that you will one day.
So that's not something which I can comment on today. I can comment on Arbitrum today, which is right now it's really ETH, and anyone can move ETH over. So the equity distribution is that, and I think our goal always is to do something that's very, very inclusive to the community, and that will always be the principle. So we don't, I think you'll see only good things coming from Arbitrum that are very value aligned, but I can only comment on what exists today.
Thank you, Stephen. I appreciate it.
Definitely. Thank you.
Good questions for videos. I think I'm back. I don't know. Can you guys hear me right now?
Yeah,
I'm
we can.
extremely
I
laggy.
can hear you.
Okay.
Loud and clear, my friend.
I restarted my app and clenched because I couldn't hear for 5 minutes, and I didn't want the app to restart and rug the space. But glad I'm back. I brought up on the bull, and Nicole, I think also I brought her up before I got rugged. Just welcome to the stage, both.
Hey guys, thanks for letting me up. Yeah, definitely excited about NFTs on layer 2s, and just curious about learning a bit more about this from a technical perspective. So you guys mentioned that Arbitrum is basically a smart contract on Ethereum, and I'm wondering if there's a difference between, when you mint a token on Ethereum main chain, you can bridge it over to, another blockchain by, locking up that token and then creating a new one that represents it on the new blockchain, for example. Is that concept the same thing with, a smart contract living on Ethereum? And I guess the flip side of it is, if you mint an NFT natively on Arbitrum rather than main chain, does it ever live on Ethereum main chain, or is it, essentially within that smart contract?
So this kind of goes back to the point before with the way bridging works, which is the bridge designs that we have today. And this is really any bridging in any form. If you go up high enough, the abstraction is you send it some destination on chain A, and it goes ahead and shows up on chain B. And then the question is, what are the assumptions, right? So what's going to stop me from spending it on both chain A and chain B? And in a trusted bridge, you basically, and this is a bridge, say, from Bitcoin to Ethereum, because there's no smart contracts or really native bridging technologies that you can leverage here. What happens is you just have a bunch of people that say, we have the keys to this Bitcoin account, and we have these keys on Ethereum, and we're going to release the one on Ethereum when it's locked on Bitcoin, and vice versa. So that's the really, really high level design of what a bridge is. It's a mechanism to lock on chain 1 and show up on chain 2. And that's to the point that someone asked before. There's always sort of, you're not throwing a ball from blockchain A to blockchain B. There's always a remnant. There's always a lockup. The asset existed on chain A. It still exists on chain A, but it's locked on chain A while it's usable on chain B. If it wasn't locked, or if that lock breaks, we'd have a problem. because you'd have an asset on chain A and an asset on chain B. Imagine if you bridge your Bitcoin from Bitcoin to Ethereum, but you could still spend your Bitcoin on the Bitcoin network, you'd have a big problem. So it's really that locking, which is the mechanism of how different bridges work. And the really cool thing, and actually the defining feature, if I had to say, of a layer 2, of an optimistic rollup, or really a rollup in general, is that those bridges can operate trustlessly. You don't need an account where someone signs and promises that they'll move them over. You have an Ethereum smart contract that can actually send the money over to layer 2 and recognize when it's sent back from layer 2 to layer 1, and doesn't require other people to sort of lock it or release it. And that's really the critical difference of layer 2. They all have this bridging mechanism where you're locking. So when you bridge from Ethereum to Arbitrum, it is getting locked in a smart contract. But the difference is it's not some people going ahead and signing something that will release it in Arbitrum. It's the protocol itself. It's Ethereum itself that's validating the movement from A to B, here A being Ethereum and B being Arbitrum, or vice versa. So when you launch a token on Arbitrum, you actually have a choice. You can go ahead and launch a native token on Arbitrum. Remember, Arbitrum is its own chain, so you can write whatever contract. You can write an ERC20 contract in Arbitrum and have a token that was natively created in Arbitrum. Or you can go ahead and create your tokens on Ethereum and bridge them over to Arbitrum. So there will be a difference there of where the contract that initially created the tokens lives, and where the tokens are locked up and where they're released. But the cool thing is both of them will have the security of Ethereum, and that's the defining feature of a rollup, that the bridge is secured by Ethereum itself.
Got it. That's super interesting. And then I guess the follow-up point on that is, when someone's deciding between creating a token natively on main chain or Arbitrum, and the perspective I'm coming from here is, people will pay millions of dollars for an NFT on main chain because it will exist for hundreds of years, or at least that's kind of the thesis right now. And so if you consider that L2s are constantly evolving, and people keep coming up with new solutions, maybe one day, in 5-10 years, there's an L2 that's way more scalable than even like ZK or like the optimistic rollup solutions. If you have a token that was created initially on Arbitrum, and Arbitrum like stops being used, for example, can it still exist on main chain without like Arbitrum existing, essentially?
That's a really, really great question. And the answer is absolutely. If for some reason we decided, and again, we meaning we don't really have the ability to do this, but like if Arbitrum basically, you can bridge an NFT from Ethereum to Arbitrum, from Arbitrum to Ethereum, and nothing on Arbitrum can claw back into Ethereum to sort of get that from you. So absolutely, you can have your NFTs. Once your NFTs are on Ethereum, they're very, very secure on Ethereum, and you don't have to rely on the security of Arbitrum. Really, really a very good question. And the one thing I'll say is, just from a very practical point, because you make a good point of these people paying a lot of money for NFTs, and the one thing, and maybe we can segue from this to sort of a discussion of the Arbitrum ecosystem. The one thing that I see different on Arbitrum than other sidechain or layer 2 NFT ecosystems is on Arbitrum we really see high value. There was, I think, 511 ETH purchased yesterday, the day before, for a Legion. Maybe someone here remembers the exact details, but people are paying real money for NFTs. The floors of some of these are very, very high, and I think part of that is a belief in the longevity of this. Right, you're not going to pay a lot of money if you think this thing is going to disappear. And to your point, it won't disappear, and we can make sure it won't disappear. But I think people are really, really bullish on the success of an Arbitrum. And one thing which I encourage people to look at when they're looking at different NFT platforms is the difference between the volume and the actual unit prices and the floor prices. I think I really can't think of another example. After I think Arbitrum is really either second, either very close to it when it comes to just the value that the individual units are holding. And it's really a function, I think, on the belief of the security and the longevity of the system. Because to your point, you're not going to spend that money on something if you don't believe that there's something real here. And I think many people realize that there's something really, really real here, and it's secured by Ethereum. So you really have that strong backstop guarantee.
That's awesome. Thanks, guys. I'll let someone else ask a question.
Yeah, underrated shout out, by the way. Like 510 ETH purchase was like, that's pretty crazy. Kudos to the Legions and the treasure team.
Hey, Steven. Oh, wait. No, Arcanic, you can go first, man.
No, you go ahead, bro. I was just going to talk about the Legion purchase, but...
bet.
Wait, before anyone asks the second question, Nicole, do you have any questions? Because I brought you up a little bit ago and you haven't asked anything, so I just want to give you space to ask if you want.
I was excited that you were doing this because I bought a small brain a while ago on Arbitrum, and I love the small brain community. And I did hear, I mean, I don't know if this is the right room to ask this, but I did hear something about buying a male small brain and female small brain and then staking them together or something. I don't know what, like, there's still things that apparently I can do that that I don't know about. And I feel like everyone feels that way about everything that's going on. Deez, I don't remember if it was you that tweeted about paying 0.1 ETH to be notified every time like something's happening in the space. Was that you?
Yeah, that tweet went like, it got a lot of likes. I'm surprised.
I did retweet it.
Yeah, I would love, I mean, just something to hold my hand and tell me, hey, my bags can do this if I put them in this smart contract or interact with something.
Oh my God, me too. But yeah, I mean, if anyone knows about, different things we can do with our small brains or what's going on with magic, like any alpha would be appreciated.
Yeah, Nicole, I got you on that aspect. But before I do that, I actually want to, Deez, is it okay if I pin a tweet at the top? It's actually a resource that's used to kind of,
Yeah,
it's an introductory.
absolutely.
Okay, wonderful.
Go for
One
it.
of the people from our community, the small community, has created this website called startwithmagic.com. Essentially, it's just an all around introductory website that helps people get kind of onboarded to Magic if they're new. And even for people who use it frequently, I mean, this is still a very good resource to come back to. His name is Bram or Bram. I'm sorry if I'm saying his name wrong, but I see him in here. But it's a very dope website. I think I just pinned it up here. Yeah, so there's that. And Nicole, you were talking about small brain and utility and stuff like that. So essentially, in order to get utility from your small brain, you require a pair, male and female, and you also require a piece of land. And you only need one piece of land for however many small brains you have on one wallet. So you could have 50 small brains and stake them all, but you only need one land. So, for example, right now, just this past week, Small Brains had an airdrop for small pets, and so does small bodies as well, because their utilities are very similar. And those.
Can I still get one?
So unfortunately, the airdrop has already happened, and that was only for people who had their small stake prior to the snapshot. But they're on secondary, and they're not too expensive at the moment. Utility still has to be announced for those, and a lot of people are speculating that those pets are going to be used to kind of sniff out different things or sniff out treasures that you can use in the small ecosystem, and then eventually, all things lead back to you kind of yielding magic from those. So the Small Brains team did say that they're so right now for Bridge World, you have their own treasures, but Small Brains are also going to have their own treasures to use and to interact with while they're up there on their little space colony. So that's basically what you need to get utility. You need a male and female, and you need a piece of land. And, further things, if you have, depending on your budget or how much you're willing to spend, you can buy like the small cars, which are going to be used later on down the line for racing. Small backpacks are also going to be coming out soon. Sometime in the near future. And then small babies, of course. So you need them to breed and create these babies, and all the entire, I guess, everything about this kind of leads back to you getting magic from them. But they all have their own story.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much. I gotta head to another room, but Deez, thank you for doing this. Thank you for bringing me up. And I hope to see you guys in another room. I'd love to host a room about Arbitrum any time, and small brains or Treasure DAO. I mean, this is super interesting to me. So thank you, Deez. You are a friend of the people.
Thank you, Nicole.
Take care, Nicole. Actually, Nicole, I want to send you a message, and I'll be doing that soon. I want to kind of
Send it to me, and thank you, Arcanic. Thank you for answering my question. And
Yeah,
shout
my
out to
pleasure.
Crypto Jesus.
Yo, Nicole, good to see you.
Good to see you. Hope to see you soon. I gotta leave, but this is great. If I could, it's recorded, so I'm gonna come back to it.
Yeah, I'd also like to say too that I mean the small pets that I got, amazing. You know, just the fact that you can have so much utility, airdrops, DeFi interactions, and like you know, kind of going back to the Legion stuff, and then small brains being integrated in Bridge World in Q2. Like it's very exciting stuff, and it's truly amazing to me how there are still people kind of wondering what they can do with their NFTs on L1 and stuff when there's so much things you can do on L2, you know?
Yeah, it's like once you start playing around on L2 and executing like hundreds of transactions at instant speeds for fractions of a penny, it's like you come back to ETH L1 and you feel so constricted, and like you like feel bad claiming airdrops and stuff, and it's like, wow, this is a whole nother world. What can we do if, you know, we can always transact with these NFTs? And I feel like we're just at the beginning of, you know, opening up what NFTs can do.
Bro, I was on L1 the other day, and I had to pay $60, or it was $68 in gas for a transaction. I just sat there with my butt cheeks clenched in just pure agony.
Dude, it's
You
like
know?
I mean, that sounds cheap too. I mean, I'm paying like $150 to buy an NFT on OpenSea. It's
yeah.
cheaper to buy an NFT on OpenSea going through Gem XYZ than it is actually buying it through OpenSea. Even if you're just buying one NFT, like that's the state of gas on Ethereum right now.
I'm not surprised. It's people all the time are talking about which blockchain is going to be key, but I'm like, you're looking at the wrong spot. You should be looking at layer twos, right? Ethereum already has built up its level of decentralization, which at the end of the day, you can't really buy decentralization. I'm like, start focusing on these L2s if you want negligible gas. But I was going to ask a question about NFT-based utility in bridge transfers. So when you bridge an NFT, technically you're locking it up in a smart contract on L1, and then on the layer 2, you're given another NFT to represent ownership of that one locked up in the smart contract on L1. So when you're doing that, usually you don't have the same utility of that NFT as you would on mainnet. Let's say you need to go on the Bored Ape Yacht Club website to redeem a code, or you get an airdrop, whatever it is. You don't really have that on the layer 2. So my question is, have you seen any cool new bridges really working on that? Because I actually have a close friend of mine is developing a new form of bridge that allows you to transfer the NFT itself with all the utility and contract address attached. It's pretty cool, but I don't know too much about it.
Yeah, we've got folks on our team who've been looking at this, right? There's a bunch of questions, right? Like royalties, airdrops. There's a bunch of questions. Harry in the audience, our CTO might have something to say. I know Fred on our team is probably not here because it's late for him, but he's leading those initiatives and those research efforts. But it's definitely something we're thinking about because, it's we don't want to lose utility in the bridge, obviously, right? It's a key component of how to approach building into ecosystems. I think it's I can't comment more, but it's definitely something we're looking into. And if your friend wants to speak to our team,
AJ, I'll say real quick, my friend is actually building it as a bridge between he said he could only do it with Arbitrum. It's between Arbitrum and Ethereum mainnet. As soon as it's done, I will send you all of his shit. He's like a mega nerd. He just wants people to be able to use it.
Yeah, I mean, he could. Yeah, if you want to put him in touch before, we'd be happy to, collaborate with him on it. That sounds super cool. So it's up to him. Let us know. Tell him to reach out for sure.
And also, I can definitely comment a little bit also on the NFT bridging stuff, especially in terms of utility. Like, if for example, you mentioned the Bored Ape reference, like if you want to go to the Bored Ape website and connect it, obviously you have to be on Ethereum and have whatever attributes you have to, affect what shows up on the website. That's also on the creators of those dApps as well, or those front ends as well. Like the Bored Ape Yacht Club could easily just have the ability to plug Arbitrum into their website and kind of have any metadata that also bridged over
Hunter,
from L1 to represent the two.
But let's say, yes, I understand that. But let's say when you lock up your NFT, let's say it's a Bored Ape in a smart contract on Ethereum mainnet, and then get the token representing that Bored Ape on Arbitrum, is the contract address on Arbitrum standard for every single Bored Ape transferred, or is it unique for every individual token?
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely that's definitely what we're gonna want, Fred or Daniel or Gian up on here. But again, it really just depends on how the people on how the bridge is constructed itself, as well as in the smart contract between L1 and L2.
Yeah,
like,
I guess
it's not only the bridge design is what I'm trying to say. It's a mix. 100%. It's a mix of that and the application.
Yeah, but so what my friend's working on is a bridge design that wouldn't require, let's say, the owner of a collection to create allow Arbitrum. It would use the same contract address on EVM, like on Ethereum mainnet, so it wouldn't require any changes for a, let's say, owner of an NFT collection. But I guess the next best thing would be if you were to bridge an NFT, that when it's bridged onto Arbitrum, every single time it's bridged, let's say it's a Bored Ape, every single one would be the same overarching contract address instead of a unique one for every time it's bridged. Because then they could just, import the utility for every Bored Ape on Arbitrum using the same individual contract address.
No, definitely not. I mean, I definitely hear you. Actually, if it might help, Stephen actually mentioned earlier, we did actually have spaces where a couple of our engineers, as well as Harry, the CTO, spoke about NFT bridging and kind of the intricacies behind it. Is there a way I can kind of send you the link to that and you can kind of post it up on here?
Yeah, you can. You also should be able to pin it as a speaker, but you can send it to me and I'll pin it if you can't.
All right, cool. Thanks.
Yeah, I see we have a couple other requests. I know we had put down an hour, but I'm pretty much wide open. I know, Steven, your time is super valuable, and the rest of the team's time is super valuable. But we have a bunch more people requested. I can bring some more up on stage. I know the people on stage have had a good conversation of pointed questions as well. So
I'm good to go for a while. So let's do it.
All right, wind you up and watch you go. I'll bring a couple of new people up.
Real quick, I was just wondering, is it possible to do some type of like off-chain transaction for I guess for NFTs that is not essential that they be locked up while the NFT is like active on another chain, so to speak? Is it possible to do some type of or to have some type of bridge where you could do like an off-chain transaction to send maybe I mean, for example, I was working on like a decentralized identity solution, so that wouldn't necessarily need to be locked up on a different chain while it was being used on another one. I mean, preferably it wouldn't actually. Is something like that possible? Sorry, I guess I didn't fully explain that. With the on-chain transaction, it would like be somehow like signaling the other NFT like minter on the other side of the contract, or on the contract on a different chain, with the information from the origin chain. Would something at all like that?
I think that's more of like an Oracle service thing. So like Chainlink and things like that, they can import data that you need from one blockchain to the other. If that is a centralized solution, but it would totally work for what you're looking for.
Okay. Yeah, mainly it wasn't even like something I needed. I mainly just wondering whether it's even possible. I'm still trying to figure out the bounds of what fits in this category, what fits in that. So yeah, I appreciate it.
All right, I brought up Mike, and we also have Sunny. Welcome to the stage.
GM, everybody. How's it going? Thanks for having me up. So I first used Arbitrum with DopeX, which feels like 3 years ago, but I don't know, it was a few months ago or something. And I remember I wasn't really paying attention to what was going on, and I kind of missed the whole pull your stuff out and start sending it to Arbitrum. The farms are going to go live, and I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna miss out on some rewards here because I slept on this and it's happening today. And I remember it was just like 10 minutes, everything went over, and fired through the transactions, barely paid anything, and it was like really quick, really awesome. And I was really stoked about that. So the bridge over, as it works right now, is like really fast, really easy, really awesome. But then there's always that 1 week to get off. But what I wanted to ask about is I saw that FTX is starting to support Arbitrum mainnet. And I wanted to ask about basically how that works in terms of like if you're round tripping money from your FTX account to Arbitrum, or you're going off Arbitrum and back on. And are we sort of looking towards a future where you don't have to interact with L1? You don't have to start on Ethereum, pay those fees to go to L2. You can kind of just go from like a centralized exchange, send your funds out the same way you would fund your Ethereum wallet without having to do that.
Yes, that's exactly correct. The experience of FTX and other centralized exchanges is that you can just completely bypass Ethereum, completely bypass layer one. So if you wanted to go, pick an exchange that doesn't support Arbitrum today, say Coinbase. If you're a Coinbase user and wanted to get your ETH onto Arbitrum, your ETH that's currently sitting in Coinbase, it would be a two-step process. Step number one, withdraw your ETH from Coinbase onto Ethereum layer one and pay the fee associated with that. Step number two, move the coins that you just got from Coinbase through the bridge, and that's another transaction which, as you noted, has a nice price tag along with it. If you take an exchange like FTX that supports Arbitrum directly, you just say, hey, withdraw my ETH to this address, and you give them your Arbitrum address, which, by the way, can be the same as your Ethereum address, and boom, you have funds. The withdrawal processes directly on layer two. And from a technical perspective, it's very simple, right? What they do is they just bridge a lot of funds over and have a wallet on Ethereum, on Arbitrum, just like they have a wallet on Ethereum that they'll pay out to you if you request a withdrawal. They have a wallet on Arbitrum that they'll pay out to as well if you request your withdrawal, and they'll fund it from their wallet. And similarly, when you want to deposit back into the exchange, they'll give you a wallet address on Arbitrum. And the really cool thing is, you mentioned the bridge back, you can completely bypass that as well. So you have an ETH on Arbitrum and you want to get that back to Ethereum, you can deposit that in your FTX account and then you can withdraw that back in Ethereum. So they're basically doing the liquidity management in the background, but giving you the experience to go in and out of both Arbitrum and Ethereum at the speed that you want.
Yeah, so basically you neutralize that week going from L2 to L1. You can kind of just round trip it through FTX or some route like that. Are you guys working on other exchanges supporting this too?
Yes, there are a bunch already live. Binance is live today. Bybit is live. Huobi is live. Crypto.com is live. I believe OKX is live or coming live. Hotbit is live. And those are the ones that come to mind. So yes, we're definitely working with lots of others. So there's some alpha. There will be some others coming soon. And the experience though is exactly that. It's fast in and out. And really, you can also use FTX, say, or Binance as a gateway. The other thing you can do today is if you have your money in Coinbase, you can do what I said, or you can just send it over to your FTX account as another way to get onto Arbitrum. So these exchanges also become gateways, right? Gateways to get onto Arbitrum from a centralized exchange. And there also, I should mention, there are other ways to bypass that 1 week, even without using a centralized exchange. And there are a lot of fast bridging projects that are live today. Some of them, are Hop, Connect, Seller, really a bunch of these projects that what they do is, again, they also manage that liquidity a little bit differently. And for these, you'll pay a small fee. The principle here is, I have an ETH on Ethereum, you have an ETH on Arbitrum. You want to get your ETH to Ethereum. One thing we can do is, rather than you go over the bridge, we can just swap our ETH. So you end up with my ETH right away, and you pay me a small fee, and I end up with your ETH on Arbitrum, and I take a fee for providing that liquidity. So there's the principle here is your average user should not be dealing or engaging with this 1 week delay. It really should be abstracted away, whether they deal with a centralized exchange or they go through one of these fast bridging solutions. And we have some work to do on our end to really redesign our bridge and expose this to users and educate users that, hey, you want to withdraw, you might not want to use our bridge directly. You might want to use, hey, one of these solutions that will get you your ETH or whatever token is supported faster. And we're working on that. There's some alpha again. We'll have a bridge redesign go live that really holds a user's hands through this process and educates them on what they probably want to do, because many users will come to our bridge and they'll want to withdraw their funds and they might not be aware that these other options exist. So our job is to really educate users and make sure that they have the information that they need to make an informed decision. And my guess is that your average retail user will never want to use our bridge. This will be the back end long term for fast bridges and exchanges doing liquidity management. But it's sort of like the internet. There are many, many layers on the technology stack. And this is another layer built on top of it that's backed by our bridge, but provides a better UX affordance to users that I think they'll use long term.
Awesome. Thank you.
On this bridging point, like Vitalik has said that he believes in this L2 future instead of multi L1s because bridges are more secure on L2s to main chain. So curious, like why are bridges more secure, I guess, in like simple terms from main chain to L2 versus like between like Solana and Ethereum, like we saw that big hack earlier.
So the principle is, again, the high-level bridge design is locking up funds on chain 1 and moving them to chain 2. And here I'm using chain 1 and chain 2 very, very interchangeably. So chain 1 can be Ethereum, and chain 2 can be an L2 like Arbitrum, chain 2 can be Solana. And what you saw in that the bridge hack you mentioned, for these layer 1 to layer 1 designs, they basically have an external network of validators that produce a signature. And if you sort of read into what happened here, there was like blockchain A the user was able to change the parameters to convince them that the signature was legit. But basically, there's an external set of validators that have to sign the transaction, that sign and say, hey, release these funds on layer 2, because really these funds don't exist on there's no way to really bridge them over. You're relying on someone that's vouching and saying maybe, and it's a multi-sig usually, that hey, we're locking the funds on in this wallet, we're locking the funds in Ethereum, and we're moving them over to Solana. When you say, hey, move them over from Solana to Ethereum, they'll go ahead and say, hey, we're locking them on Solana and moving them over to Ethereum. And here's the thing though, which is on a layer 2, you also lock and unlock, but rather than having to have an external network of validators, we have the ability to send messages directly from Ethereum to Arbitrum. So what you can do is you lock the funds on layer 2, and you don't need someone else to carry that message across. Ethereum itself pushes that message to Arbitrum and says, hey, these funds are locked, and you should unlock them in Arbitrum, and vice versa. So it's really about cutting out the middleman, cutting out the messenger. If it's 2 layer 1s, you need someone to go ahead and carry across that message. And this person who's carrying across that message actually has a lot of power because they can equivocate. They can actually, if they were evil, say, hey, they're unlocked on Ethereum. Hey, they're unlocked on Solana, and now they've just double spent. Instead, if Ethereum itself, if these two things talk to each other's language, they can send a message directly. And that's what we have in layer 2 and only layer 2, where we don't have to have these escrow designs where you need a messenger and the messenger can be faulty, the messenger can be corrupted. You have the blockchains really talking to each other and writing back to one another in a very, very strong way. And the only way that I'm aware of to build that strong big bridge design is via layer 2. And this is basically that Vitalik was talking about, the difference between multi-chain and cross-chain. That the future, in Vitalik's words, is multi-chain, but it's not cross-chain, because you can have this multi-chain experience where all those chains are grounded by by a single chain grounded by Ethereum, and they're connected directly. They can talk directly, and you really mitigate a lot of the risk. And don't get me wrong, there's always smart contract risk. There can be bugs in any type of bridge, right? You have to make sure you have high confidence in the bridge. There could be bugs in any app you use, as you know. There can always be bugs, but you're cutting off a lot of the surface by removing this messenger, and it just leads to a much, much more secure experience.
On the block, another important thing is a bridge is only as secure as its least secure partner. So when you're bridging between Ethereum and Solana, for example, Solana is very centralized in terms of its validation metrics. So it'd be a lot easier, almost infinitely easier, for someone to perform a 51% attack on Solana versus Ethereum. And while that 51% attack was going on, for example, all the funds being bridged over from Ethereum mainnet to Solana would be lost and stolen in that attack. So that's another important thing to always keep in mind. Is this is one of the reasons why decentralization is really important and really valuable, is because at the end of the day, your weakest link is usually something centralized. And Solana is a very centralized blockchain. They control 45% of their validator nodes in-house. We've seen their blockchain go down multiple times because of that. But
that's super interesting.
I did have a question, though, for Steven. So as with anything, I think Arbitrum's number one thing for getting users over is lowering the technological barrier to entry. And I forget who was talking about it earlier. I think it was Mike, with exchanges and centralized exchanges and onboarding, which is really important for obviously lowering that technological barrier to entry. But my question is pertaining more to the creator side. Are you incentivizing anyone to develop purely on your platform and protocol to drive like specific user bases over, kind of like Harmony and DeFi Kingdoms? Because we all saw what DeFi Kingdoms did for the Harmony blockchain.
We are today, everything you see on Arbitrum, literally every app, is completely organic. We have not paid anyone to launch an Arbitrum, and I think that's a very, very important thing to realize about the organic traction. It's fully and completely organic. And if you look at the trajectory of Arbitrum launch and compare it to really any other chain before they launch massive, often hundreds of millions or billions of dollars incentive programs, I think it's unmatched, the organic traction. So I think that's a really, really, really solid foundation, and one that I'm very proud of, that I can say, and I can say publicly, that I have never paid an application to launch an Arbitrum, and nobody to my knowledge has. It's really organic traction. And it's because, the belief in the future, the belief that this will be around for a long time. It's not about, collecting a quick buck. It's about building something that's going to last and building something that's really larger than we're doing. We have excellent communities building with us, and many of these are incentivized, right? So you have many application layer incentives, liquidity incentivized liquidity pools, etc. Many exciting things for users to do an Arbitrum and get a lot of yield, but it's not us paying people. Now, that being said, I should be clear, which is we are looking for ways of how to give back and be inclusive to our community and reinvest in our community. So we do value the importance of really this being a community chain and making sure that we're constantly investing in that. And I don't think these two things are at odds, but I think it's important to realize that, what I can say is today, everything is completely organic, and that's what gets me excited, and that's the community buzz that we want to continue building. But that doesn't mean that we aren't looking for ways to reinvest in our community.
Steven, I love to hear that. That's amazing. So I guess in theory, one day, if you maybe have a cryptocurrency, you can introduce some sort of bonding metric to pay it out to the users of your blockchain. But I'm just really happy to hear that, because it sounds like you're not selling out to VCs. I hate to say it, but let's look at just about any blockchain in history or any layer 2 in history, and a decent chunk, usually 20%, around, is owned by venture capitalists. So I'm happy to hear you going down the organic route.
Bullish.
We like the organic route.
All my fruits and vegetables are organic as well. They're not actually, but
If my preferred L2 isn't grass-fed and organic, like, I just don't even want to use it. It's just, I feel like I'm polluting.
Amen.
I like it Wagyu.
My small pets only eat grass.
Hey, good morning, friends. Deez, thanks for hosting the space. I'm seeing some familiar faces here from the Arbitrum team. I just realized you guys all have pirate hat smoles, and it's like a little gang you guys got going on. Shout out
I
to you
didn't
guys.
realize that.
It took me a while.
Nothing like the pirate. I'm telling you, the pirate's underrated.
Was that not intentional?
No, it wasn't.
Awkward.
I feel left out. But yeah, I wanted to talk really quickly since it's like NFTs on layer 2. One thing I want to go back to what Crypto Jesus was saying, how Harmony has DeFi kingdoms, and like that counterpart would be Magic Treasure DAO, and the amount of organic growth from the community, everything being free mint, and all the valuable assets are coming from the community, and how we build it up together. I think it was that one day when the Atlas mine was launched, and I think like we broke Arbitrum somehow for a few hours. I don't know exactly what happened. Steven, can you talk a little bit about that event?
Yeah, I believe it actually was completely coincidental. We had some sequencer downtime on our end, and I don't believe the timing was suspected. Actually, to be honest, when we were looking at it, we also went ahead and said, "Hey, did we?" The timing was very, very suspicious, but it actually was an internal issue with our sequencer and our backup sequencer failing to take over, something which we've in our internal setup, which we've corrected. And the one thing I'll say is on that point, this is extremely early days. We launched on the 31st of August, so it's early days, and we're looking to build a long-term resilient network, and we're also looking long-term to decentralize validation, and we're also looking long-term to decentralize the sequencer as well. So I think this will only get stronger and stronger over time. And one thing which I did after that last one, I reached out to some protocols and I said, hey, we have these affordances on Arbitrum which allow you to operate even when the sequencer is down, but you sort of need to use those and build those into your app. And these are things for apps that jump from another chain to Arbitrum. These are things that didn't exist in other chains. In other chains, there is no sort of backup to Ethereum. So this is very, very exciting, an exciting piece of technology that we have. And what we're doing on our end is really, working with teams and trying to educate them on how to use these features. And we'll continue to do that. It's a new initiative we're doing. We'll continue to do that. And if you're a team listening and are interested in being one of the early pilots there, reach out to me. All the tech exists. You can use it without us, but we can also have our engineers help. And what we're trying to do is basically make sure that people know how to use the backup path so we're resilient to sequencer outages. So you can, for example, close out a position and not worry about your leverage trade. So it's early days. Have a lot to, we've come a long way, and we have a long way to go to our ultimate goal of, real full decentralization. But I think we're a long way there. But yes, I can confirm that was a complete coincidence and nothing at all related to that. But I'm not, it did take us some time to make sure, and we were also asking that question.
Appreciate the answer. I mean, yeah, it was like insane, the coincidence of the Atlas mine just launched and then Arbitrum went down and everyone was just yelling in the chat and typing so furiously, jumping into Arbitrum Discord and harassing you guys. So and to me that seems very, very bullish. And if you look at the chart of like the number of wallets, increasing unique wallets, it's like 1,000 plus a day, which is awesome. And then one more thing, I won't take too much time, but when we're talking about NFTs on layer 2, I haven't been hearing much about this project being spoken about. Like it's part of the Magic Treasure ecosystem. We have the Small Brains, we have the Legions, Bridge World, but no one's been really talking about the next upcoming project, which is probably going to be this month, which is Seed of Life, which is a project that was launched by Jumpman.
You're leaking the alpha.
I knew that you were about to bring that up, dude. I saw that shit coming from a mile away. Seed of Life undervalued gang, bro.
I had to represent the community with that because, John said it and Jumpman said it. It's like on-chain WoW. I don't know what that looks like yet, but we'll see when that comes out. So it's a project that's coming out. It's already available on secondary. The NFC is. So you have to get it on the treasure marketplace for those who are wondering what it's about. But we just ended our 3-day lore event, which was really successful. We had like 3 troubadours. They were just writing lores based on people making decisions on the spot in the Discord chat. So thank you guys for participating. And hopefully this week we have some surprise for you. But I can't speak about much because, one, I don't get anything from the team. But the one thing that was leaked to me was the white paper is going to be insane. I don't think it's going to be 50 pages, but it's going to be very, very different than traditional white papers. So I'll just say that. So
send it to me. But yeah, I mean, I'll go based off of what Sonny said as well. I'm not here to, I don't want to shill Seed of Life for too long or any specific project, but Seed of Life is also going to be on Treasure. And essentially, Seed of Life is one of the first on-chain life, life simulating NFTs. Essentially, this Seed of Life is basically the start of your own on-chain character's life. The character will have different attitudes, moods, tragedies, happinesses, sorrows, advancements, upgrades, different classes, a job, basically an entire life. And, I don't know the full extent of the information that's still behind, that still has not been disclosed yet. I'm very much looking forward to it on the white paper, but that's essentially what it is. And I think the Twitter is Life NFT. If you search it up, you'll see it, and they have a Medium article that kind of says all of that. But yeah, that's all I want to say.
I have a question as it relates to, like, you guys have a pretty cool native NFT ecosystem evolving on Arbitrum with, Treasure and some of the other stuff. How are you guys thinking about or feeling about the potential for, OpenSea and LooksRare and some of these bigger platforms integrating with Arbitrum?
I can try to speak a little about that. So, we saw OpenSea and the issues that they were facing, and so someone made LooksRare, which is a great platform to be decentralized. But we see a lot of the early investors, how early they got in, and the co-founders of Treasure actually worked on the LooksRare platform, but they just didn't like how their ethos was, and rewarding those already wealthy and getting extremely low entry points, and it introduced a lot of wash trading. So I know the Treasure ecosystem, they're launching their own platform called Trove, which is going to be integrating who are like the OpenSeas and LooksRare platform onto Arbitrum. There's a bridge, I think it's called Miro Finance Bridge, that's already working on trying to get all the different NFTs on different EVM compatible chains, vice versa into Arbitrum and L1 as well. So,
Sonny, I'm so happy you said that because so many people don't talk about how centralized LooksRare actually is. They went to all these influencers before talking to anyone else and offered them to be able to buy Looks token at 10 cents a coin, knowing that it would go to the public for $3 a coin. That's an instant 30x to people who are already fucking millionaires. It's stupid. It's ridiculous. It's not decentralized. And then when you're staking, that's how they redistribute their fees. So obviously, the people who are staking the most are people who have the most of the token, and then you're just making the rich exponentially richer. It's a bunch of BS. And on top of that, they never even audited their smart contracts. Not a single contract was ever audited. I don't know about you guys, but the first thing I ever do when I go to use a new protocol is see if they have an audit and see who did the audit. And if I'm more curious, I look into the audit itself. They don't even have an audit. What does that tell me? They prioritize launching their protocol as soon as possible to take advantage of the market over user security.
Yeah, to touch base on that, with the user security, I know a few members when they first launched, there was an arbitrage opportunity between some of the floors of NFTs. And one thing that LooksRare failed to do was notify any stolen NFTs on OpenSea. So a few members that I've known personally, they bought what they thought was a good deal NFT, and they tried to flip it on OpenSea, and it was compromised and stolen. So they pretty much lost out on that.
Anybody want to give any when Trove Alpha over here?
As per what I know, the team has said that Trove is coming along very nicely, and they did have some hiccups recently, which kind of delayed the initial timeline. But regardless, I mean, I think it should be out fairly sooner rather than later. I like Trove because, you know, it kind of follows the entire ethos of Treasure and what they stand for, and essentially that's uh, as fair as possible, right? That's what they promote. If you look at Small Brains, if you look at Legions, and everything that has been created so far by the Treasure team, all of these things were distributed through a completely fair process. There was no, a secret group of influencers or secret group of whales that kind of got early access and got dibs on some of the rarest things. Matter of fact, the Legion that was just sold for about 530 Ethereum, I think just yesterday or the day before, that's $1.5 million, by the way. That Legion, along with every other Legion, it was all given to people for free, random people, completely fair distribution. Small Brains, for example, I was there since Mint, and I went into their Discord not knowing what the hell this was. I had no clue. I just heard through the grapevine that, there was a free mint going on and you might as well do what they asked so you could get it. And it took me 10 seconds to draw a picture of a big brain monkey on MS Paint, and I submitted it in their Discord. And basically, that's how I got my Small Brains, which at their peak, they're both worth 10 Ethereum, right? Right now, they're worth about 5 for the entire pair. So that's still a substantial amount of money that everyone received for free. That's kind of the ethos that's being brought into Trove and pretty much any other treasure creation. And Arbitrum's ethos also similarly kind of lines up with that. So you're seeing here that you already have this entire group, not only the people who are responsible for creating the L2 layer, but also these different things that are being built in that L2 layer. They're all following a similar ethos of completely fair distribution and organic growth, and
Man,
no shady tactics. So
I gotta say, I've never heard of this team before I came into this space, but I am bullish as fuck on them. The amount of teams actually caring about equity distribution like this and real organic growth are literally a handful. Literally a fucking handful in the entire NFT industry and NFT space. So I'm bullish as fuck. I never even knew about Small Brains, oddly enough. But you know what? Now I'm gonna go cop me one. So thank you.
Hey, and by the way, actually, I guess while we're at it, I'd love to actually kind of push forward that narrative of kind of the whole fair launch thing and whatnot, and mentions like a whole bunch of whitelists that are happening on Arbitrum like as we speak. I've never seen such a consensus on having like a free whitelist. I mean, the ones I'm about to list, I think some of them are free, not all of them are free. But just like having them available to everybody and kind of give everyone an equal opportunity to kind of take part in it. So just to list a couple of them, and I can definitely kind of put up a tweet, I guess, in the space after this. But Project X, Smolians, Cool Guys, Small Lizards, Tales of Illyria, Litter Kittens, Enjoyer, Seed of Life, The Flip Project, Cryptids, I'm laughing, Small Bananas, Lost Samurais, Battlefly, Ellie Friends, Peekaboo, Toadstools, Small Sharks, The Lost Donkeys, and Shogun War. And that's not even all the whitelists that are going on right now in Arbitrum. How crazy is that? That's nuts.
Yeah,
dude.
It's
I'm
really.
on it. They're gonna take the Solana NFT market. I'm putting it out there.
Dude, I mean, it's crazy because, when I host spaces, I host like weekly small talk. That's what I call it, where, we just as a community, we just get together, all the people in the small magic ecosystem and stuff. We just shoot the shit. And we've had a couple people who have literally come into the spaces for the first time and they're like, hey, dude, listen, I'm a part of this Solana, like, the entire Solana ecosystem. And literally it's like, we're so diehard Solana fans that we, within our own group, we like sometimes shit on other like layers, you write other separate things, blockchains and such. And they're like, bro, I just discovered Arbitrum. I just discovered Treasure. I just discovered everything that's going on here. And they're like, holy fuck, dude, like this is mind blowing. So if we have the power to kind of tap into the damn Solana ecosystem, bro, we're in for a huge wave, a huge run up. And secondly, while I have you here, and kind of what Hunter was saying, all these projects, like Smallians and Small Ducks and Lizards or what have you, a lot of these are derivative projects or projects that are outside of the Treasure ecosystem. So the team itself and some of the other projects that they're kind of taking on, those are going to be directly put on the Treasure marketplace. So there's the Treasure marketplace, which is the official Treasure, which is by the team. And there's Trove, which is the generalized quote unquote OpenSea competitor marketplace. Some of the projects like Battlefly and like Peekaboo, these projects will be on the Treasure marketplace because they were brought in through an official collaboration, an official partnership to be put on the treasure ecosystem. And what's even crazier, Magic, the token that kind of powers all of this stuff, is in order for a project to come on the official treasure marketplace, it needs to utilize Magic to power the game. And in
Yo,
anything,
what a
like,
great idea to bring value to the cryptocurrency.
absolutely, dude, it's genius. And if you read the tokenomic structure, it's really, really crazy. So games like Battlefly, for example, it's going to have a mechanism or a structure in which you'll have this like butterfly type NFT that you can buy mods and stuff like that using. I think they also have a native token, correct me if I'm wrong, but you can also use Magic for that. And it's like a risk reward type skill based game, and you can essentially risk your Magic and play against another person in real time. And you kind of, if you win, you take the spoils of the Magic. And that's pretty much it. If you lose, then you lose, So you need to kind of decide on how you're playing the game. It's very, very interesting. And they have just a plethora of information out there. They have Medium articles. They have recorded AMAs, recorded spaces. It's once you just get sucked into this rabbit hole, it's like all you'll do for the next 2.5 weeks is just live and breathe treasure and Magic. And honestly, for me, it's been crazy. And by the way, Crypto Jesus, dude. So you said that you never heard of treasure or anything. So what I want to do for you is I want to give you a whitelist for Battlefly.
Oh, yo, you are too kind, man. I really appreciate that.
Well,
I'm just so happy I fucking found out about this shit from all you guys. So thank you. I appreciate you all.
Hell yeah, dude. Much love, man. Yo, send me a DM. All right, I'll be in touch.
I will. Thank you.
You better be building an Arbitrum, bro. Otherwise, I'm coming after you.
You wanna know what I'm building on Arbitrum? I'll tell you. I am building a new type of automated market maker that allows liquidity providers to transfer their permanent loss to users. It is also the first automated market maker in the world to have concentrated liquidity with an nth-dimensional value function. And it is also a decentralized NFT marketplace with zero fees. And we've created a new protocol standards to create the world's first rentable and mortgageable NFTs without the need for collateral.
Wow, a lot of alpha right now.
Mouthful. Yeah, no, too much alpha.
Yeah, we're being audited by Trail of Bits too, so we got all of our shit lined up.
Friends of the show. Yeah, no worries. We'll make sure we get in touch in terms of with our partnership team.
Can bring up a few more people. I'll do a temperature check here. I know we have a bunch more requests, but we're approaching the 1 hour 45 minute mark.
I'm good to go.
You're a machine, Steven.
You're here with me, so
wind you up and let you go. All right, I'll bring up a couple more people.
Yeah, really quick, Deez. I know you were mentioning some what RuneScape legends are in. We have Framed. We have the Swamp Man, Settled himself also, and Sea Engineer confirmed so far. There's a few more.
Settled was the one I had actually watched a good amount of his videos right before I quit playing. And then when he followed me, it was cool to see. Like one of the most unique account dudes, like just very unique.
Huge respect to those people, dude. I mean, I don't even know how the hell he grinded like 5,000 hours of Ultimate Iron Man, dude. That's wild. That's beyond
Swamplytics.
Yeah,
these people
Swamp Man.
Different. Like after I maxed my account, the pandemic it was around the pandemic. I was like, okay, I need to get involved with DeFi Summer, and I can't ever think about like RuneScape ever again. Like this just can't be on my mind. I have to get rid of it.
Dude, it's like nowadays for the past 2 weeks, whenever I'm like, on my Twitter bull tweeting, like, tweeting bullish things about Magic and shit, I'm also like grinding on leagues on the side.
Yeah, I don't think I've opened up RuneScape since the DeFi Summer. I just like try not to think about it. Actually, I think I played what Bob Wax did. We did Soul Wars for like 30 hours and I got the pet and then I stopped playing.
Oh shit, dude. Let's go.
Yeah. Busy, welcome to the stage.
What up, Deez? Thanks for having me up, bro. So, I don't see people talking about Arbitrum too often. So when I saw the space, I was like, yo, let me come up here.
Yo, Busy, what's good? Long time no see.
My dog, bro. Nice to see that you're coming over and doing stuff on Arbitrum, dude. That's awesome. I think it's got a bright future.
Dude,
for
you
sure.
know what? It's just a great plat. Of all the L2s, they and when an EVM compatible ZK rollup comes out are my favorites.
Oh yeah, 100, dude. I'm so excited to see the future of L2s, especially when the ZKs come out. Man, it's gonna be awesome. And I know I spoke to Arcanic a while ago, but I figured this was the perfect opportunity to kind of not chill, but I do a little bit of NFT archaeology, and I know Arbitrum's newer, but the oldest NFT on Arbitrum is it's called Arb Empty NFT. So it's literally an empty NFT. There's no metadata, but it is the first launched by 4 minutes. There's like 90 left to be minted. It's a free mint, so it costs like $6 in gas. So if anyone wants to claim those, you can. If you don't mind, I can pin up all the info at the top if you want these.
I might have to go grab one of those.
Yeah, go for it.
Dude, I am literally on my way to go grab one. I'm not gonna lie.
Right now, I think.
Yeah, I put a little bit of directions on that tweet, but yeah, like I said, I think there's 91 left. Like I said, it's just an empty NFT, but I thought it's just a cool little piece of history. You know what I mean? And in 5-10 years, who knows where it could be? So, I have this this theory. I've been searching for the creator, couldn't find him. I found the guy who created the Arbitrum Genesis NFT, which basically that's just all it says is Arbitrum on it. But he was trying to be the first NFT on Arbitrum, and this other guy launched Arb Empty NFT 4 minutes before him. So kind of took that first NFT on Arbitrum spot, which was kind of funny. It sucked. I figured it was the same guy. I found him, and he's like, "Nope, I didn't do it." So that guy actually went on to launch the first NFT on Kronos, which I thought was funny. He's like, "Yeah, I missed it on Arbitrum, so decided I would do it on the next chain I could."
Oh, what?
Yeah.
I have one. I remember you asking about that in the Discord.
Yeah.
I have one of those.
Yeah,
That's hilarious.
So, my theory, or I hope, I've been trying to find the creator, but is that like he somehow is able to add metadata once it sells out or something, and it ends up being this dope ass NFT. Probably not going to happen, but that's why I was trying to find him to see if it would even be possible, and be like, "Yo, we should, get some big name artists and add some metadata to these."
That would be cool.
But yeah, once again, man, I appreciate you having me up. I hope I didn't take the stage too long there and derail you.
No, you're good.
I think everyone is like scrambling to that contract to try to mint.
Bro, I literally am right now. I was like, this is why it's so fucking quiet.
But also on that note, keep in mind, so aside from Arb Empty, I think small brains are, I guess now, like the second or first official actual NFT, right? Like Arb Empty is empty metadata. There's nothing really there. So you can consider it to have some sort of historic value if you look at it in that sense. But small brains are essentially, I don't like making comparisons, but they're essentially to be looked at as the CryptoPunks of Arbitrum to a certain extent.
No, I think they are the CryptoPunks for sure. And the thing is, though, the small brains weren't by any means the first. There was a lot of NFTs before them, but they're the first to gain traction and really push it forward. They're kind of like that first big PFP. And 100% the best comparison is the punks of Arbitrum. They brought attention to it. They're the reason that Arbitrum, I think, has gained so much traction recently. I mean, I don't think, I would say that's a fact. And, obviously the punks were nowhere near the first NFT. I mean, there was, I want to say hundreds before the punks, but they are definitely a catalyst that helped blow up NFTs.
They're the first ERC 721. That's really the big thing there.
But they're not. Wait, are we saying punks are the first ERC 721?
Yeah, they developed the 721 standard. The CryptoPunk team at Lover Lab.
No, definitely not.
Really? On the GitHub for the 721 contribution, it shows their team as the initial contributors.
They inspired the 721, but they actually released punks before 721s were a thing. So punks are like these ERC20s that you have to trade on the Janky Larva Labs website.
I saw that. I saw
or you
that.
have to wrap them in the ERC 721s to trade them. So they were like maybe one of the more or most pivotal contributors to the protocol, but they released punks before.
Ooh, but then who's the first 721 though?
The kitties, I believe. Or the kitties were the first big, like, hey, this is what 721s are and can be used for, and watch us breed and inflate the shit out of these. Look at this.
Dude, I have 3 crypto kitties, and like they're worth nothing. I think it'll cost me more to move them than actually hold them. Ridiculous.
Do you like the art at least?
It's interesting. I mean, the names are kind of cool, but like I don't know. I mean, that was the only way I got my girlfriend into crypto, and to this day, I don't know. I haven't done anything with them.
It was likely a small price to pay if she's actually like interested in the space now. I would say that's a good thing. I brought up Sire. I see you have your hand up. How are you doing?
Hey, thank you for bringing me up. Hi, guys. Hi, Space. I'm really grateful for this space, actually, because I've been building this collection as an exercise to explore L2 solutions. Thoughtverse. I wanted to go with the... by the way, anyone hears me? Because it seems like Twitter is lagging a bit.
No, you're good. You're good.
I can hear you fine.
That's great. Thanks. I wanted to explore the L2 solutions and to get a hands-on experience on it. And I used some neural networks to make the clones of the thoughts. Long story short, I invited one of the top AI researchers to help me with the thoughts generation, and they turned out really great. So now we are going to do like a bunch of L2 drops to get people into the L2s, because as far as I'm concerned, as far as I saw this space, this community, at least like 1 month ago or so, there were no such great spaces. There were less people. The adoption was less common, I guess. Now I googled up. I came up with NFT Arbitrum community there. That's really great because now people can just find somebody interested in L2 NFTs, and that's great. So I see myself how this idea of L2 NFTs gets traction, because like literally 1 month ago it was so hard to find any information about it, and now we have 500 people working on spaces, building community, exchanging ideas, and like discussing it, and that's really means a lot to me, because like I was not sure about the idea of exploring L2 solutions, and now I see that I was thinking in the right direction, and actually setting up all the infrastructure I built on the backend to be able to deploy contracts to different EVM compatible chains pays off, because looks like I got the notion where market was heading right this time.
Yeah, it's great. First of all, thank you for that, and thank you for joining and being a part of this community. And I can say I'm equally as excited. And for me, it's been even a longer game, and for my co-founders and the rest of us in the company as well. To many people, Arbitrum just popped up maybe a week or a month ago or 4 months ago, but we've been building this for a really long time. And actually, if you look on YouTube, and I say this a lot because it's so interesting, but if you look on YouTube and you search for Arbitrum, today you'll find a lot of videos. When I used to say this a year or two ago, it wasn't hard. There was one video that would come up, and that video was basically a 2015 video from a fall 2014 Princeton class of a project led by my co-founder, Ed Felton. And as Ed says, they didn't build Arbitrum on Ethereum at the time because Ethereum didn't yet exist, right? So the video was January 2015. Ethereum launched July of that year. And the reason I like to mention this is just because it's been such a long time building, and it's exhilarating. And when we launched earlier this year, when we launched in August, it was exciting. All this work we put in years in different contexts, in the academic context, in the engineering context, in the biz dev context, was finally coming together, and we were able to really deliver that mission. We talk about financial inclusivity and lowering fees, But on August 31st was the first time that someone actually had a lower fee. And likewise, then it was really started off really as a DeFi stronghold, and to see the organic traction on NFTs and these communities building up, it's really, really exciting. And it's, as you can see from the call, from the conversations here, from the projects building, it's really, really bottom up organic, which is the most exciting thing to us. And really, really, I'm excited to be part of this community and building alongside all these.
Yeah, completely. It looks like 100% organic because it is, because lots of talented people are joining your movement, your community, their community, our community. I don't know. And that's really great because that's the only way to build something beautiful and decentralized and fair enough, I guess, because you touched the fairness of distribution, and that's, I guess, how the most fair distribution is possible, of people joining in the right time because of the genuine interest in building something before there is hype, before there is FOMO, FUD. Actually, I've been to this concept before, and I call this early adopter social trap, because it feels really cozy and welcoming if you build any social involved project, like early adopters, people who are genuinely interested in whatever nonsense you're building at the time, that can give you the false perception of something getting traction. I'm speaking in general about social projects experience, building social project experience I had before. And I think that there are some great vibes about Arbitrum now, because people are really professional. You are professional, and this feels like something giving attraction to great ideas and great next steps, because I think that Arbitrum can be a game changer in terms of play to earn projects, in terms of whatever NFT projects they can benefit from lower transactions cost and high transaction speed.
Absolutely, and that's exactly what we're trying to do. And it's an iterative process. The transactions are fast today, the fees are a lot lower today, and the fees will get a lot lower over time. But the cool thing is that we're in it while we're building it, right? We're already experiencing that relief, and we'll only get better and better over time. And that's our goal ultimately. And as we get lower, as the fees get lower, more projects will be enabled to come in, more users will be enabled to come in. And this is particularly important as more and more users enter the space, because if the supply doesn't increase, but the demand is increasing, and we're seeing the rush of demand. You go to a crypto conference, and by the way, shout out, our team will be in Denver next week, so come find us. We'll have a booth there. If you're going to
be, that's hard for me because I'm Russian, so I need to get my visa first.
well, yes, you can. But else, but you go to a crypto conference and you speak to people, and so many people have just entered the space, and you see this in real time, and you look at so many new entrants. And one thing which we're going to be able to do by lowering fees is just increase that, because people who are priced out today, apps who are priced out today, and verticals, take gaming, take social, look at what we're doing with Reddit's building their communities on Arbitrum. That requires lower fees, and that sort of scale, and we're excited to bring that to users.
Wait, what? Reddit is building community on
alpha.
Arbitrum?
That's some alpha right there.
What?
Come on, guys.
Come on. Like, what? I'm going to... wait a minute. I need to take a pause to look at my Binance application for a while.
By the way, I figured I'd back for a second the RBMT NFT. I figured, I'll do that after the call, but I'm looking at it now, and
dude,
I'm
in the same boat as you, Steven. I was like, shit, I missed it by like 2 fucking minutes, you assholes. I ran to my desk, and I get on there, and boom, they're all gone.
Yeah,
I think it was one guy who minted all of them. I swear.
Hey, listen, I minted a bunch so that I could give some out, because I figured people would mint a ton of them just because it's pretty much free to mint. It was like $5 each or $6 each. So
I'll buy one from you, Busy.
Yeah, if you guys send me the wallet address, I can send you one for sure. Because I just want more people to have them in general.
Yeah,
Dude, you're a fucking homie.
Love this guy.
There's been between 500 and 700 people in here about the whole time, so I'm not surprised that they went pretty quick. A lot of degenerates.
Dude, here's the thing though, man. I dropped these in like a 300 person space originally, and when I found them, there was like 250 to 300 left, and in a matter of like 3 weeks, only like 200 got minted, and there was still 90 sitting there, and I was like, man, people just don't care about these historic NFTs. But then you think about it, you're like, oh, Arbitrum's still so new that it's hard to even consider anything historic, but I think it's awesome.
But I see
I think it depends on the audience too.
Yeah, 100%.
There are a few listed on Tofu, but if you really want to go into Arbitrum history, you can look at Small Puddle, which was like the day 2 Arbitrum NFT marketplace, which has some of these listed there as well.
I mean, dude, there is. And, there's the Arb Genesis NFT, which is just a picture that says Arbitrum on it, and it's got the logo and stuff. I could drop this other alpha. I don't own any yet, so I know I probably won't even get a chance to own them. But if I'm not mistaken, first on-chain NFT is the Arby bots.
I was just going to say that.
On
Yes.
Arbitrum, yep. So that's another one that I thought was awesome. I expect a lot of attention to go to Arbitrum in the near future. So these things I definitely think hold some historic value for the chain, for long-term holders. You know what I mean? Short-term.
Non-financial advice.
Not financial advice. Reach
Do
out to
your own
SizeChad
research.
if you have any issues.
I'm very bullish on BZ over there.
Yo, I'm
Very
bullish on Busy too. Busy, I sent you my address. Let me know how much ETH you want. But I gotta head out, guys. I gotta hop into a meeting. But thank you for having me here. Deez, thank you so much for hosting. You too, SizeChad. Y'all are great hosts. The whole Arbitrum squad, y'all are amazing. Thank you for coming into spaces like this, making one-on-one connections with the community. It means a lot. Arcanic, it was a pleasure meeting you, man. You too, Sonny.
Pleasure, brother.
Thank you very much and have a good one.
Thank you.
God, I missed Twitter Spaces because I been to Dubai and been busy working. I missed this vibe really.
I love how engaged the community is around Arbitrum. Like, I've been really impressed by the questions from everyone who's come up and just how like knowledgeable I guess people are about Arbitrum. Definitely like
well
really surprised to see more like NFT people get into the DeFi stuff, because I noticed it with the fractional side of things where they're still like on OpenSea and afraid to leave like an NFT marketplace. So it's cool to get them in a environment where there's less friction to transact and they can experiment and actually like learn a bit about how this shit works without spending so much money and gas.
Well, actually, like when I was designing and like brainstorming how I should approach L2 exploration, it was rather easy to build up like seven L2s to L1s to explore, because like obviously Matic / Polygon came first. Then I thought about Arbitrum, Phantom, like the Casync, like Star Crawlups, and it was relatively easy to build a map what L2s to explore. But then I just like I crashed into the wall. Like there was zero people talking about NFTs on layer 2, and I think that finding L2s and finding like information about DeFi stuff in general is easy. You can find like tutorials, you can find any like technical information, but finding community is hard, and that's I think the direction we can all think we should work as a community, because spreading the awareness, spreading the vibes is crucially important for builders and for collection producers, artists to join the vibe, to join the crowd. By the way, Steven, do you mind if I DM you a couple of questions, like regarding community building and all that stuff?
No, yeah, please go for it.
That's
Absolutely.
great.
Yo, Deez, and SizeChad, I have a question for you. By the way, I'm not affiliated with the team in any way, but are you guys whitelisted for like Battlefly and Peekaboo and like some of the upcoming treasure projects?
I need to be. I have not participated nearly enough. Basically, Keyboard Monkey told me to buy Magic and Small, and all I did was buy a little bit of Magic and coped as it ripped, and I didn't have a big enough deck. And that's been my like extent of messing around.
Dude, I'm gonna shoot you a DM, okay? Because I got you, and I got you, SizeChad, as well. If you're not on, I got you as well. Just shoot me a DM. Let me know if you're in. I love to talk to you. Like, yeah, go ahead, man.
No, go for it. Okay, go ahead. Let you finish.
Oh, I was gonna say I would love to toss you Battlefly and Peekaboo whitelist for both of you, which should be pretty dope.
Spreading the love out here, bro. I love it. I love it. I just wanted to throw in there too, like anything community related. For Arbitrum, just like you can feel free to send over my way. Anyone in this space who looking to build their own project or integrate with any type of project on Arbitrum. I'm the community manager, here at Arbitrum, so I'm more than happy to help you get connected with whoever you need to be connected with.
Awesome, Hunter. I'll send some questions your way, and I won't ask the question that you think I'm going to ask. I promise. So I gotta get going, but really quick, D's like like you said, some people were Keyboard Monkey got into Magic, not the earliest stages, but a good entry point, and now it's like near all-time highs again. I think it really speaks volumes on how the big event was the January 24th token unlock, and the conviction that the community has is that there's like 70% tokens right now staked in the Atlas mine with varying different unlock schedules, like 2 weeks, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, and a year. And over 50% of those tokens are locked for a year. So that speaks volumes. And I think like a lot of our metrics on basing the valuation of Magic is using like DeFi Kingdoms, Jewel. And when you think look at the differences, Jewel is just like one aspect of GameFi, NFT, DeFi, where you just kind of stake your tokens, you gain Jewel. Sort of the same thing what Bridgewell does. Like Magic's already done that, and it's also incorporating so much more. So we have now Seed of Life coming up, which you stake your Seed of Life, and you are enabled to gain Magic emissions, 50% Magic emissions from the mine for 2 weeks, and then up to 10% thereafter. And then quarter 2 is when the small bodies, small brains, they'll have the Magic emissions as well. So just something to think about. It's like a growing community. It's awesome. So glad to have you, but I got to head out, guys. So thank you. And I know we're talking about really quick, small brains is like the next CryptoPunks. I hold a few small brains. I think the person that's holding like the right behind me the most, I'm pretty sure I've talked to him, and he owns like 75 CryptoPunks, and he's like, yeah, this is my conviction hold for the 2022. So do with that what you will, but thank you again, Deez, for hosting the space, and thank you everybody else on the space. Good night. Oh, yeah, Seal Life is undervalued. See you guys.
Thank you for stopping by. Oh,
Thank you.
He's not funny.
Yeah, Hunter. I'm just hijacking the pause to ask you a question. Like, I'd never tried shipping anything, any contract on Arbitrum before, so pardon me for asking if this is a stupid question, but like, do I get it right? Like, I just ship standard ERC 7021 contracts, and that's it, basically, right?
Yeah, so it pretty much Arbitrum is like compatible as an EVM compatible
Yeah,
to the level.
I just exercised the opportunity you offered just to make sure I'm right. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no, it's pretty much the same thing. Just like whatever code you have in Ethereum, like you can literally like more or less copy and paste onto Arbitrum, and you're good to go.
Awesome. I'm definitely going to move up Arbitrum in the shadow of the whitelist drops I'm doing for my Toadverse collection. And that's really great that we have a community here. Like, again, I can't be thankful enough for finding this space.
We're at the 2 hour and 10 minute mark. I'll do another temperature check before bringing anybody else up on stage.
Well, that's like whether like this is 2 a.m. for me, so this space is interesting enough for me to stay awake and to risk my tomorrow meetings.
Okay,
Like,
I think we should
really.
end it here now, just so we can save this guy from missing his meetings.
No. I'm just.
He's like, I already called off sick.
I'm
I just
staying in
emailed the
Moscow.
boss.
I'm staying in Moscow now, so I rented a hotel near the place I'm having the meeting tomorrow. That's typical Moscow and I guess New York thing to do, to stay in the hotel close to the meeting you have, isn't it?
Did we get rugged? I'm sorry.
No, I think we're good.
Yep, I'm here.
I don't know.
Nice.
He's going at 2 a.m. I can't say no at 6:10 p.m. So if you want to go for another few questions, I'm cool to go.
All right, I'll bring up a couple more and then we'll call it after these.
Cool.
It's crazy, dude. I've been on Spaces for almost 5.5 hours plus today, and like the entire time we've been talking about Magic and Arbitrum and Treasury and shit. And it's like, you know, I'm not even that tired of it, to be honest. It's all just like, even when I'm hearing the same information before, it's still great to kind of have that information back in, because there's so much shit that you need to understand and you need to learn, and it's such a fun process doing it. So I'm really enjoying being here. I'm just chilling.
I think I brought someone up, but they got rugged immediately. Let's see. There we go. I've seen you down there for a while too, GM.
The GM, thank you so much for bringing me up. I'm totally fine with waiting however long I need to talk. So one of my questions that I had just brewing, and I feel like if someone was talking about it, I was mainly wondering what is, in layman's terms, what is the difference between ZK Syncs, Metis, Arbitrum, and Polygon? What is the biggest difference between all of these amazing products?
Great question. I can take that. I think the difference is really on the technologies that back. We can take this, I guess, in two ways. We can talk about the fundamental technologies of when they're all in their final state, and we can also talk about what exists today. So, I think the best approach that I prefer is to talk about what exists today. And on that note, Arbitrum is a layer 2 scaling platform. I believe that Arbitrum is the only general purpose layer 2 scaling platform, the only general purpose rollup. By general purpose, I mean that you can launch smart contracts on and like code an EVM, as opposed to something that only works for, say, payments. I think it's the only one that has fully working fraud proofs, which are like the security method that connects it back to Ethereum. And so we're very proud of that and have a very, very strong ecosystem that's building up around that. But fundamentally, these are all different projects with different technologies and different trade-offs. The ZK rollups are going for a similar thing that we're going for. ZK rollups and optimistic rollups deliver a similar experience in theory, but we believe that optimistic rollups will have a better compatibility for the long term, as well as lower fees. But of course, there are trade-offs, and particularly around the speed of bridging. That's where ZK rollups are faster to bridge back from the rollup to Ethereum using the native bridge. So there are definitely a trade-off space. Polygon, as they exist today, is thematic sidechain, which basically means it doesn't derive its security from Ethereum. And I'm not here to sit and say anyone's bad or good. I'm very excited about what we're doing. We believe very strongly in Ethereum, in the community of Ethereum, and the security of Ethereum. I think that's actually one of the less appreciated aspects of Layer 2. We're not only an extension of Ethereum from security, but also we're an extension of that community. And people feel a certain comfort. NFTs, others on this call can tell me, can say it better than I can. But the comfort of having Ethereum security and purchasing high value NFTs and knowing that they're secured in Ethereum, I think is very, very strong. So we benefit both from the security of Ethereum and from the community of Ethereum. But there are a lot of great teams building out there. We're excited about what we're doing. and I'm sure others are doing great things as well.
I actually have two more questions. One I've noticed is that and this is a shift in the conversation that's kind of was unrelated to what I was to add my first question. But one thing I've noticed with the I'm sorry, I thought I was talking. I wasn't. But my question, what I wanted to ask, my next question I wanted to ask was, do you see Arbitrum being able to compete, having an NFT market able to compete with OpenSea? I know that Treasure is amazing and going to be an amazing marketplace. It's going to take the NFT world by storm. It's already doing that, but what I've noticed with looks is that while people love to shill it, there's not a lot of people that actually, in my friend circle, that use it. We all use OpenSea. So do you see anything like Arbitrum on the Arbitrum ecosystem taking over the OpenSea market share?
So one of the things that we did early on when we launched is we really built a platform that supports innovation and supports whoever wants to come here. So if OpenSea wants to come, they're definitely welcome to come. They know they can launch an Arbitrum. But to speak about who is launched an Arbitrum right now, there's Treasure and there's Trove coming soon and confirmed coming soon. And they're doing a really, really incredible job. Now, it's an open platform, just like Ethereum. And as we saw at Ethereum, others can come and vie for that space. And we are the platform layer. So we don't we don't restrict others from coming. And we invite actually everyone to come to Arbitrum and build an Arbitrum. We think it's a very inclusive community. I think there are really, really great communities here right now, great marketplaces here right now. Treasure is killing it. I'm excited for Trove. But of course, OpenSea can launch an Arbitrum, and maybe they will.
I'd also like to add in there. You guys can hear me, right?
Loud and clear.
Yeah, I'd also like to add in there that at some point last month, Treasure was literally the second biggest marketplace for NFTs in the entire crypto ecosystem, second to OpenSea. So while Arbitrum obviously is a open platform for anyone to build on, the in many ways the best players will win, and Treasure is really killing it. So we've said it multiple times in the space so far, but again, hats off to them for what they've built on Arbitrum.
And to add to that, their marketplace is completely open source. So you've seen projects like Wolf Game also utilize their open source marketplace for their own marketplace, which is really cool to see. Sorry, Toji.
Yeah, it's very. I guess the principle that I would just reiterate
no worries.
is
my very last question is that basically to give some background, I
think Toji's getting rugged, or I'm getting rugged like I was earlier.
I think he's
I
rugged.
think it's Toji. Yeah, I think it's Toji.
Okay. I think I could get rugged. But my question was,
you didn't hear anything you said.
Yeah, it's me that's getting rugged. Sorry about that. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got
okay. Well, my last question was, I believe the reason that some of these I believe the reason that some of these L1s are able to sustain life are because of their incentive programs. The fact that they are paying builders to come and to build products that lock up TVL. Is there anything that I wouldn't know at the moment? It's probably a page that I just haven't read. Is there any plan for incentive program for Arbitrum, or is there already an incentive program on Arbitrum?
So that was cutting out a bit, but I think I got the general gist of the question, which was about other layer ones or their incentive programs. And I'll reiterate, I guess, what I said before, which is everything you see on Arbitrum today is fully organic. And that's the extent of what I can comment about our plans, other than to say we are committed to our community and are committed to being innovative at how we can continue to grow and fuel and invest in our community. But today, everything you see in Arbitrum is organic, and I think that is something that's really hard to replicate. Sure, incentive programs can get you people onto your chain, and they will. If you pay people, they'll come. But having this organic, having this heart, this soul, this community, I think that's something that's really hard to replicate. That doesn't mean that we won't look for ways to reinvest in our community. In fact, I'm telling you, we absolutely will and are examining that. But what it does mean is that I think this is the foundation that you want. A chain that was a ghost chain with no transactions and that turned on an incentive program, and boom, their transaction count went up. And you don't have to imagine. You can look at some other chains. I'm not going to call any out specifically, but we've seen this happen in the past. That's not a healthy, sustainable ecosystem. I think having these strong community, it's all about the people in the community, and this call is a testament to that. And we've spoken a lot about Treasure. That's a testament to that. These strong communities, and Dopex and GMX, these really strong communities building on Arbitrum. I think that's the most important foundation that you can possibly have for everything. And when you do that, you have a heart and soul, and the heart and soul stays. The heart and soul didn't come here because they were trying to get a few dollars. That's not to say that they won't have yield on the platform, and that's not to say that we won't think of ways of reinvesting in the community and giving grants to projects to build with us. That's all. It's that's not exclusive to that. But I think the foundation with the heart and the soul is really important, and that's what I love about Arbitrum today.
I love that. I also brought Size. Another Size up.
Guys, thank you.
Hello.
Thank you for having this space. I need to go.
Get some
GM.
sleep for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Don't be too
Thanks.
tired at work. Have a good night.
Have a good night, you too.
Peace
Thank
out,
you,
bro.
guys. Bye.
He's gonna blame Arbitrum for missing work. I swear.
That's a flex. Like, oh, sorry, boss. I was talking to the CEO of this, $1 billion scaling solution for Ethereum. I just can't be asked to come in today.
Makes sense. I wouldn't either.
Yeah, especially in Russia. Just tell them to fuck off. What are they going to do to you? Yeah, we brought up Gaten. I'm sure you're just vibing and chilling. And then we brought up Splash. So welcome to the stage. Hope you guys are having a good night. Oh, and I brought up Carol. You've been also waiting a long time to get up here, so welcome. All right. Does anybody have any questions? I said.
I was gonna say, am I right?
we might be a good time to wrap it up. It has been 2.5 hours.
Everyone,
Yeah.
can I jump in?
Yeah, go for it.
I was being graceful and waiting for everyone else to chime in. I mean, Trove was talked about a lot, so figured I'd come up and just wanted to say a few words. So if you don't know me, I built Treasure Tools, a companion to the Treasure ecosystem. So I also retweeted their white paper. So if you want to pin that might be helpful for people who haven't checked it out yet. But yeah, just wanted to say a few words. I mean, I think part of what is really interesting is them building something that's truly delightful and kind of differentiated from what's out there. And they're of course taking an ecosystem approach, pulling together the community, and I think in that white paper you'll see there's a lot of really interesting mechanics that OpenSea, LooksRare, a lot of the other folks, it's not been done before, and it's a really interesting kind of take on different things. So, if I list through a few of them, part of it is just gamifying that experience, right? It's like introducing these collection levels, creating really a Shopify of sorts that lets builders launch collections that kind of stand out and have different kind of tiers to all of that. They have this graveyard mechanic where you can exchange your unwanted and zero value NFTs for something that is actually valuable within the treasure universe. So, if you've been rugged before, as many of us have, you can actually do something with them. It's also a super smart thing from a tax perspective for those who pay tax, and that's all I'll say about that. There are user levels. It's again for someone to kind of build, their own profile. You can have a built-in gallery. You can customize your collection, kind of create your own storefront. It's super cool there. I think the other, I'd say the most interesting things to me is, again, investing in that community. There's royalty sharing, right? And for those who are in the treasure universe, on Bridge World, if you're staking magic there, you're actually eligible to earn, ETH royalties of Trove. So again, giving back to the community, kind of rewarding those who are participating. I haven't seen anything like that before. I'm personally collaborating with Jumpman and their Discord group Origins on building out analytics, right? And so imagine a built-in Nansen of sorts, within a marketplace, really to help you make better data-driven decisions, both from a kind of user perspective, but also if you're running a collection, all of these things, can really help you drive your business, but also, make better buying decisions. So all of that, to say, I think it's really building something that's different, and the people will come, and I think that's really been the ethos of Treasure. I'm not formally part of that team, and so, contributing as someone in the community. But I think whether it's Treasure or other folks, I think we're kind of building all this together. Actually, one point I missed is liquidity abstraction. Being able to wrap Magic ETH LP tokens to kind of unlock interesting sort of features of that. Whether it's advanced analytics or really other kind of aspects of this marketplace, it's something that we're experimenting with and playing with. But it's again, all this to say, a lot of cool things happening. This is one of many sort of